Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Unacademy. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Success Sampath interacting with you. Do you want to become IAS, IPS, IFS, IRS? We Unacademy, with top educators of India and meticulously designed quality content, we have been waiting for you, waiting to shape your special so that you realize your dream, goal. Got it. Right. So once you enroll yourself in an academy, ladies and gentlemen, you will undergo a great learning experience. You know very well about Unacademy. This is India's largest and the best online education platform. What are all the benefits you are likely to get once you enroll yourself in Unacademy? Ladies and gentlemen, if that's going to be your caution, of course, you got daily live classes here. You know that you can chat with your educator, engage in all-round productive discussions. You can also ask all your genuine doubts. Right. And also, that participate in the answer polls, all these things you can do when the session's going on. And you got structured courses here, which is completely based on UPSC Civil Service Examination pattern and syllabus as well. We ensure so that you never get deviated from the expected framework. Ladies and gentlemen, this particular point we are keep on emphasizing, that it's not knowing the stuff, knowing to deliver the stuff, because delivery matters. It's not what you deliver, rather how do you deliver. You got a mechanism to evaluate your preparation at various stages, especially by conducting regular mock tests and quiz programs. The very detailed analysis, the report what you get will reveal you where you are strong, where you are weak, and you come to know how much time you took in solving a particular question. Ladies and gentlemen, once you enroll yourself in Academy, as I told you, right, you got unlimited access, that more than 1 million videos. And also irrespective of your electronic device, whether it is mobile phone, laptop, desktop, ladies and gentlemen, you can learn from anywhere, anytime, irrespective of your electronic device. But what you have to do, please, that you are supposed to download immediately the Unacademy Learning app. Once you download, whether it is Android or iOS, ladies and gentlemen, once you download, you're ready to access all those benefits we have enlisted now, right? Who is this Success Sampath? That IS, of course, that I'm from Chennai with unique experience of got exposed to the fields of, engineering, management, and legal education with 25 years of experience in the field of, coaching, especially shaping the careers of civil service aspirants. With my, the team, I could witness the humble results. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, the 250 plus results, that my kids working in different parts of India as IAS, IPS, IRS, IFS, all my, that, and some of them in abroad as well. And you can also parallelly ask me, what's your vision, sir? Yes, to be part of the solution, of course, by enabling youths of India to provide career solution to them to begin with. Later to embrace the global community. We are keep on emphasizing this point. Fortunately, this particular vision of mine is completely in alignment with Unacademy's vision. We are working together so that you realize your dream, goal. You can also reach me through Telegram channel. Say, that using my ID, say Sampath, or even that Success Sampath or Sampath Iruvengitam. You can also reach me through that social network. You can to get to benefit more out of that. Yes, there's Judgement. It's not only me. More than 100 plus top educators of India on the part of Unacademy waiting to support you so that you realize your goal. As I said, dream. Under UPSC Civil Service Examination, we've got two major programs. One plus program, another one is iconic program. What is this plus program? Of course, you got live classes, test series, unlimited practice sessions, and you got structured schedule mechanism. That is, gentlemen, and from 1 month to maximum 36 months, we've got a program. It may be subject specific model, even prelims come mains integrated, the GS program, and also that the optional subject for which you got courses here. you know Choose what suits you. That's what we are keep on emphasizing the point. Depending upon that your time availability and budget, you can choose programs here, but you can also use my referral code, say success, to avail maximum 10% discount. Ladies and gentlemen, More than this plus program, we strongly recommend iconic program. This iconic program, when I say, you will be given a special coach, a mentor, a personalized mentor, especially to understand your nature and to suggest study planner accordingly, and also to train you on everyday basis in terms of answer writing practices when it comes to mains. Ladies and gentlemen, here too you got that 1 year program, 2 years program, 3 years program. Please use my referral code, say success, to avoid maximum 10% discount. Technically speaking, you end up paying mere 80 to 100 rupees if you calculate on per day basis. See, the very expenses not even that towards that you spend towards your evening snacks, but you ensure your career here. That is German. It's not only that. Of course, for all the popular optional subjects, that we extend support on the part of Unacademy platform. Well, and of course, that from 1 month to 36 months, from 5K to 90K, for which you get programs here, you can also reduce that amount by going for that referral code, say using my referral code, say success, to avail maximum 10% discount. Ladies and gentlemen, now it is right time to take you for the very purpose and direction of our interaction today. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Unacademy once again. This is Success Sampath interacting with you. Yes. And today's topic, of course, that it is centered around ethics in personal relation. You would have, that already one video is available on the part of this YouTube channel. Ethics and integrity introduction. Those who are all, that did not attend that particular session, please go through. Please watch that particular, that video. You will get more ideas. I took much time in elaborating what is ethics. That's good intro. Probably you will benefit more out of it, I believe. Ladies and gentlemen, and today, that it is the second video. That of course it is again ethics and integrity, but focus first on the personal relations, the ethics, the basic human values that we practice on a day-to-day, everyday basis. It's in personal relations we are talking about. Then you got several topics like that, ethics in social relations, where you are going to bring in the Nolan Committee recommendations of UK, and then ethics in public administration, and ethics, the probity in governance. Otherwise, we will be touching parallelly the second ARC, ethics in environmental relations, ethics in international relations. You've got variety of topics like that. Apart from that, the major topic, what we call, the contributions from, the leaders, the reformers, philosophers, thinkers. When you talk about, the theories, that on the part of this ethics, all the contributions of those people, even the religious elites we are talking about. Right? So, that through different resources, that we come to know what is, that ethics. Ethics is all about, that the prescription when you are perplexed, confused, maybe in terms of ethical dilemmas or conflict of interest, that in your day-to-day life, that ultimately, that you got a tool to guide you, a methodology to guide you, and to choose, the right choices, especially that reflects, the principal standards on the part of your living, maybe reflecting the culture. But it's more than culture. It's beyond law. Because, when it comes to law, that we keep on talking about it, that you got limitations you feel. But it's more than law, but without compromising law. It's not talking about mere ideal ground or over ambitious stand. Of course, it is very practical and flexible also. And without silencing your, that whisper. And also we understand, that the constant struggle happening in your chest on your everyday basis, for that you get solution. The ethics, that guiding you in principle. That is Judgement. We also discussed in the previous video the various sources or the parameters responsible for, the deciding what ethic is applicable in a particular, the context we spoke. That is Judgement. Of course, today our introduction, that the ethics in personal relations, what are all the values we are going to discuss. And when it comes to, as I told you, the contributions from thinkers, reformers, philosophers, great, the Western moral thinkers we are going to discuss. That line we are taking it according, Socrates, because we say SPA, the code. SP Socrates, whose disciple Plato. Then we will take you to, Aristotle. Today we will focus on Socrates. Even in the previous video we discussed, that the unexamined mind is not worthy of living. That's a quote according to Socrates. And that based on quotes, what you are understanding, even today, even now in this video, we are going to discuss two more quotes from two eminent people of India. Of course, none other than Mahatma Gandhi ji and Dr. Kalam. Right? That the 2019, that the sixth question especially centered around that. Well, Ladies and gentlemen, so we will be discussing about, the Western moral thinkers, the tradition begins with, of course, the Socrates, that you might be aware. So we are going to discuss. Finally, we will be providing ethical solutions because we are always part of solution. By taking into account, previous year questions, 2019 especially, the questions, of course, when it comes to ethics, the 250 marks, what we are talking about, 120 marks belonging to, of course, the theoretical portion, 130 marks meant for your case studies. The case studies are nothing but, various social issues, happening in and around, that then and there you meet, you encounter. We are going to provide, locate the domain, and we are going to provide, ethical solutions for that. That's called case study approach. So 120 plus 130. Of course, we have to provide ethical solutions not only to the questions, of part of, 120 out of 250, and also, that we are going to discuss case study. That's fantastic. This subject is quite interesting. You will come to know because, you will love. It's almost like puzzle solving. It is that way, and various resources to be consulted. Having understood sessions, what are all the resources to be consulted from your angle? If that's going to be your question, we suggest. Ladies and gentlemen, I think, this is what our content of interaction today. Let me take you. And also, that it's totally based on the availability of time. I will also refer, that one more document so that, more questions and more case studies. Let us see, that it's not totally depending on, that how it goes or how your interaction. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, this is what the context, of course, that the link with, UPSC Civil Service Examination means the syllabus there for this particular, the ethics and integrity, even aptitude, the very, the portions we are talking about meant for 250 marks. Yes, what it talks. This particular, that the paper, that the paper 4 of GS has got question to check candidates' attitude and approach. Approach, form, attitude, content, the character. What character you show in that particular occasion, and what approach you practice. Maybe when I say approaches, maybe the source is CFRUV, common good approach, fairness approach, that rights approach, and utilitarian approach, virtuous approach. You can practice that way. And of course, that what kind of attitude, the character you show there. It is that way. So the candidate's attitude and approach to the issues relating to integrity, probity in public life. Talking about that. What is integrity after all? When you practice truth for a long time, you're called honest person. The honesty in the long run, that you are called man of integrity or women of integrity. People develop trust in you, confidence in you. That is German, you become role model then. So it is that way. So relating to integrity, integrity is also about, even if nobody is watching you, you never deviate from the accepted framework. That's called integrity. So it is that way we are talking about, about, the probity, the free from blemishes we are talking about. Probity, that of course, the practice of, that particular integrity or honesty in public life are part of, the governance mechanism. And that the problem solving approach to various issues and conflicts, of course, we are going to witness in the name of case study. Because you have to be part of solution. We're talking about that. Various issues, maybe, when you encounter ethical dilemma or conflict of interest in the governing mechanisms, or the conflicts, that you witness, whether to choose this or that. That gives you deadlock, impasse. Finally, you are guided by the ethics. That's totally depending on, the approaches you choose. Totally depending on the domain of that particular issue also. Yes, you come to know. So this is what, that we are going to elaborate. Of course, that, so that's the very prescription by UPSC, and also it is under the various headings, ethics and interface, human interface, attitude, aptitude as, that, and foundational values of civil service, emotional intelligence, that, and concepts, that it's needed. And also, the contributions of the moral thinkers, just now we spoke, and public or civil service values and ethics in public administration, and probity in governance, case studies on above, the issues. The thing is, I'm reading only the topics of the syllabus. You please have elaborated syllabus. You please download from upsc.gov.in. Ladies and gentlemen, I think, that I read because, given time constraint, I read only titles of the, the syllabus, the units of the syllabus. Of course, that now it's time. Ladies and gentlemen, let me take you to the very topic of discussion. After that, the ethical solutions we are talking about, the ethics in personal relations. Otherwise, they are called the basic human values that you expected, that on the part of any individual, so that you become, a complete person, a composed, balanced person. Otherwise, all your, that the solutions, that never deviating from the ethical framework we are talking about. So when we talk about that, ladies and gentlemen, that there comes ultimately the TRLPJ. Maybe this is a formula you can have. Of course, abbreviation. Let me tell you: the truth, the love, caring. It is otherwise called caring. The love you show, the care you show to others, and also you never lie. It is that way, because it is very easy to lead the life of truth. The moment you start lying, it becomes costly of us. You have to manage that lie. That's very difficult than maintaining truth. That we are going to discuss, and also the peace. It's not only the peace of mind on the part of individual, the peace in the society, and also there comes your responsibility. That it's your obligatory position, that you are responsible because you're powerful in a particular locality. You got a mandate, and also we are talking about the justice at the end of the day, fairness. We are talking about all these things. We are going to elaborate. Don't worry, just have an idea. TRLPG, the basic human values expected on the part of any individual, that makes him that stay composed, complete in all respects. That gives peace of mind. Then ultimately you can reflect upon how to control your emotions, and capable of controlling emotions of others also. That benefits the whole context. Then you understand. I think it is right time. Let me take you to the elaboration. Right, the truth. Truth alone triumphs. Satyameva jayate. Mundaka Upanishad. You understand how the nation values that particular the truth, the principle, the truth value. You understand. So the truth, when you practice strictly adhere to in the long run, as I said earlier, honesty. You become honest person. Honesty in the long run, you call that man of integrity, women of integrity. We are talking about. So the fundamental principle behind this integrity is truth, the practice of truth. Say as it is. Got the point? Now? So without that say alteration, that without amendment, that you say as it is. So that demands courage actually to practice truth. Even cowards will practice. That cowards cannot practice truth. Because the moment you say truth, the consequences, you're ready to suffer, that ready to undergo that sacrifice, that says you're courageous enough, you're bold enough. When it comes, only when you are strong in terms of principle, that can be done. You say, yes, I did. You become honest in admitting. You're talking about that demands truth on the part of, you are ready to undergo that suffering, as Gandhiji did it. Yes, I did. That's fine. Talk about, so that the truth doesn't depend upon, the will or wish of an individual. Got the point now? It's not depending upon, the external agency or your whims and fancies. The truth is always truth. People, and also, there is a convenience. If you speak truth, you need not worry about anybody. But if you're lying, you have to be very conscious, and your memory should be good. You should know what you lied, where you lied, and you have to maintain the consistency. But the moment you speak truth, you need not memorize anything because you are very open. It is that way. That talks about that you enjoy freedom. That's quite convenient. That what I'm talking about. So the independent of the desires. It's not depending on anybody's or your desires or interest of somebody else or yours, or it's not bothered by the opinion of others. Right? It's the fact is fact. The truth is true. It can't be changed. It never blemishes. And it may appear as if that it's facing setback, but in the long run, the truth alone triumphs. That's what there is a saying in Tamil: "Sangu suttalum venniram." Whatever you do at the end of the day, right? That is what you can cheat. That's what I'm saying. You can that you do all those manipulations. At the end of the day, in the long run, everything will be revealed. Only thing time. You have to wait for some time. Everything will be revealed. Don't worry. So the truth alone triumphs, that. So that will be revealed either one form or other, that day you lose the relationship. This is what we are talking about. People thinking, that very smart, clever, manipulating relationships, that you will come to know. Whatever may be, whether it is in personal, social, public administration, that the environment, everywhere, thinking that, that they are very smart. No. No. But of course, there is another saying, another kural. பொய்மையும் வாய்மை இடத்தே புரை தீர்ந்த நன்மை பயக்குமேன். That's totally different. Nannamai பயக்குமேன். It is totally different. Sometimes you are supposed to lie as long as it's going to be that good for the whole humanity. Their end justifies means that's different context. I'm not talking about this. Your mom would have lied to your father many times to protect you. Your mom would have lied to you so that that benefits you. you grow well, you understand the society, that never stops your personality building. She would have lied, that's for the betterment of you. That's different. I'm not talking about that, that's getting justified. End justifies means I'm not bringing that all together. That is a different path, of course. But there also truth, that the fundamental truth, the unwavering truth on the part of mom, that at any cost my son or my daughter should move to the next level, should be a great personality in the world. For that, she's ready to compromise anything. That's different scenario. I'm not talking about that. Of course, it is independent of that the desires, interests, opinions. It is much harder to sustain a lie than to maintain a truth. That's what you have to be very careful. You should have good memory also. Now that once people come to know that you lied, you lose relationship over. That way we are talking about, the value of truth. It is that way. But that it's a bitter pill to swallow. When you talk about truth, of course, that truth, reality bites, we call. The same way, that it's a bitter pill to swallow. But that's the reality, that you have to understand. Otherwise, that is what. It's almost, choosing right in place of comfort. You got choices in front of you. Will you choose right or comfort? Comfort, if you choose, you lose your identity. Choose right, you may suffer, but in the long run, you win. That demands passions, that demands sacrifice, that demands courage, that demands, that your proactiveness, ready to undergo all sufferings, that demands your commitment, unwavering commitment towards that particular path. That's totally different scenario. Ladies and gentlemen, so lie leads to unmanageable complexity one day fine morning. Got the idea now? So it is better to go by truth, be mediocre, than by going for advertisement and projecting yourself, as our politicians do. Huh? That ultimately you come to know a lot of things. Ladies and gentlemen, I think it is right time, basic human values, that the truth. Even in the youngsters' relationship, we call, that what is, they never tolerate, that. But of course, more affection, love, care, that you are ready to compromise, that's different scenario, right? What is that? Then love or care. That I told you already the difference between love and like. What is love? If you love a rose, you will water it. If you like a rose, you will exploit it. You will plug it. We are talking about the care. I'm talking about the love. That love. That's a greatest thing we're talking about. That's so. It's very difficult to practice. That love towards all human beings. That you accept them. It is that demands extraordinary maturity on your part. Of course, unselfish care. We are talking about unselfish. It is not that by expecting something you care others, you love others. Unselfish care. You don't expect anything, and concern for the well-being of others. You walk in the roadside. You happen to see some the thorn or some sort of nail in the roadside. Of course, you are wearing chapel. It's not going to affect you. But think about that sometimes that may enter into that two-wheeler or four-wheelers, that the tires ultimately that's stopping them. So you understand that, you take and put in that dustbin. Yes, unselfish care. It's parobaka. You don't expect anything out of that particular activity. That it's somewhere it benefits people. That you keep in your mind that well-being of others. எல்லோரும் இன்புற்றிருக்க அண்டி that வேறொன்றும் அறியேன் பராபரமே. There is a saying in Tamil, my that expectation that everybody should be happy. It is that way. People think that way, speak that way, practice that way. That you would have seen people like that. So well-being of others. So oh my God, let everybody be happy. There are some people pray this way. Are you aware? The well-being of others. That and world at large. They're talking about. So being identified only at the heart. That our core of human consciousness, that's a special, the feeling that, you can witness with heart. Our core of human consciousness to show, that affection or love towards others. They're talking about, that then that prompts you to care others. When in the roadside, the traffic, you see, that visually impaired people, they're trying to cross the road. Yes. Ultimately, you love humanity. Ultimately, you stop, that your four-wheeler, even, two-wheeler, ultimately, you help them to reach. You ensure that safe passage. That's outcome of the love, the care. You don't expect anything out of them. This is what, that Sometimes, these are all the things happening. You would have seen a lot of, that in the social network, videos like how the United States of America somewhere, how the traffic constable facilitating, the passage of, that all those, ducks, the ducklings, even some dogs, that how the animals are treated there. It's more than human. You apply the principles of, that ethicality beyond human society. You take into account, that. So it is that way. That's fantastic. We are talking about it's how that comes to your mind. It is because of the love, the care you show to others, not only the humanity, even beyond humanity. That way we are talking about. So in universal sense, the characteristic par excellence of the human soul or psyche we are talking about, that is what love. It is the peace, love, and all, that the characteristic par excellence we're talking about. So you don't need language, you don't need nationality, you don't need ethical identity. Whoever may be, the fundamental, the notion we are talking about, of course, it is that way. So it is common and encompassing word we are talking about to include altruism and understanding and forgiveness. We are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So altruism, understanding, forgiveness, altruism, that for the welfare of everyone. Understanding, the once you love, you understand. Once you care, you understand. You don't care, you question, you shout. And also you forgive people. People give. One who gives forgives. One who gets forgets. You know the story. You get two kinds of people in the world: giver, getter. Giver always giving, not expecting anything. Getter will always be getting, always expecting, and forgetting finally. But giver always gives and forgives also. Two kinds of people. There's such a broad-mindedness, with which you see the love, care. People, that the welfare of others, they will understand others, they will forgo, they will ignore the mistakes of others. And also, that's why the forgiveness we are talking about. They won't enter into retaliation, revenge tactics. It is that way. It's not like that. So, but it's a vague. It's not clear and ambiguous. Also, the confusing also to some extent sometimes. That. So when the love that moves to the next level, maybe it takes the form of like, or that some sort of lust, some sort of possessiveness. You have to see the ugly side of that love. That's different. We are talking about the vagueness, ambiguity. We are talking about that's also that not free from this that love part. Of course, now let's take into account another basic human value that defines your that otherwise plays important role in personal relations. At the end of the day, the people ask you the question, are you happy? Even global happiness index. The richest countries are not happiest countries in the world. The richest people are not happiest people. You just see the Rolls Royce, a guy, the driving Rolls Royce, when that when he asks, you ask him, you just see his face, he'll be driving like this. I'm not talking about being. A lot of problems. No peace at all. The very amazement of wealth never allowing peace. Maybe if it is by righteousness, dharma, it's different story. By wrong means, you're worried about when raid will come. People are worried about enforcement of directorate, and somebody may that steal that money. Afraid of everything. No freedom at all. No peace of mind. It's not that. See, that is what the point we are talking about. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, that the peace. Are you happy? Are you peaceful? May the soul rest in peace. Peace, at least hereafter, after the death. People are talking about it. It is that way, ladies and gentlemen. So the experience of it's a harmony. The experience of harmony and balanced, but the dynamic mental condition we're talking about. So it is dynamic, but it is at peace. Even that you should be balanced. Then only your productivity moves to the next level. You stay composed. You should be peaceful. If you're not peaceful, if you're not composed, if you're not balanced, the outcome it will definitely influence the outcome. I'm pretty sure about it. That, ladies and gentlemen. So that it's not only individual's peace, even the peace in the society we are going to talk about. It is the experience of harmony, complete coordination, all your body parts. That the mind, the soul. Of course, that your body, everything. That unison we are talking about. Maybe if you do meditation or yogasana, it's very easy for you to reach that level. Well, we are talking about, so it's balanced, but dynamic mental condition we are talking about. It is universally accepted positive value. even an international, that organization, United Nations organization for the peace, establishment of peace in the world after Second World War. Ladies and gentlemen, peace is the universal, that too positive value, everybody loving. It is not, that representing sectional interest of a particular region, of a particular racial community. It's not like that. But it is universally, that accepted positive value they're talking about. And without truth, love, or justice, that there comes definitely the conflict. The moment you start lying, one day fine morning, you will lose your peace. But the moment you start hating, what you give, it comes back. Maybe with more. If you give hate, you will get back, more hate. If you give love, you get back, more love from others. It is that way, that love, caring, and also the justice. The moment you lose the balance of justice, what is fair, of course, definitely, that it won't lead to long-lasting relationship. The guy got defeated, aggrieved, victimized because of your injustice. We'll try to retaliate back. There comes threat perception. That won't allow you to stay in peace naturally. So the truth, love, justice, that without this, that definitely there will be conflict. There comes, conflict between heart and brain, of course, that you come to know as an individual. And that's getting the spillover effect even in your social relation. You shout at others, you cry, that what happened, right? That alters your behavior. Well, and peace is endangered, you're talking about endangered or lost. The moment, that without all these principles, what I said, the truth, love, the justice I'm yet to discuss, don't worry. The conflict arises. The peace is endangered. The peace is lost. How to attain peace? If you practice truth, if you love everybody, and if you practice justice, definitely you will stay at peace. You will stay composed. There will be harmony in you, the complete coordination in you. Yes, the peace of mind is individual, no doubt. The peace in society is the result of positive acts which are not violent or destructive, but tolerance and constructive. It is not trying to destroy others. It is trying to, help others build, the society. Capacity building, otherwise you talk, that you take part, you make difference as a leader, district collector, that as secretary level, you're going to do that. You're going to make difference in the lives of so many people. You're going to be part of nation building measures. That's constructive activity. And also, that if at all, that any, the discrepancies on the part of two different communities, you're going to preach religious tolerance so that, that the harmony is achieved there, so that the context, that the locality stays in peace. Peace in a society, peace between two communities, you're going to facilitate. How? Making them aware of, that the common ground. You're going to do that. It's not by practicing, violent means or destructive path, but by practicing, the tolerance, accommodative tendencies on the part of both conflicting communities. Right? It is that way, that, and also you indulge in constructive activities, not destructive activities. Maybe, that you invite religious leaders, conduct, some, the meeting, of course, you talk to them, what is the common ground in both religions. And also, educated people, that it becomes easier for you to negotiate with them and making them understand, that the peace in that particular region, in what way it is going to benefit, that the future of that particular region. That way, that so the religious tolerance is must when there is, that distress between the communities, two communities, religious communities. Of course, you do lot of constructive activities in what way they can come together to partner the process we are talking about. Of course, the peace. That begins only when you are peaceful, only when you are in harmony, composed, balanced. So that begins, that at the individual level. Of course, that can be witnessed in society also. We're talking about, ladies and gentlemen, and not only that. So these are all the basic human values, peace loving. There is no solution through violence, then. People took up to arms, that still they have to struggle. Well, but that is what we are talking about. Kathiya thookanavanuku solution ekkada. A guy who takes knife or that rifle, no, not at all. There is no solution through violent path. But non-violence, of course, that demands sacrifice and courage. Definitely, there is solution. It appears as if you got defeated. No, you won the hearts of everyone. You win the hearts of everyone, even if it is going to be defeated. The purpose, the priority matters. Let us germinate. That way we are talking about. Yes, there comes, that another value, of course, responsibility, obligation. With more power comes more responsibility. We keep on talking about that. Yes, the human value of, doing one's duty closely related to non-violence. Doing one's duty, that closely related to non-violence. We're talking about ahimsa. There you see the dharma, justice. I don't, that harm anyone. I don't hurt anyone. Not to harm. We are talking about, that's ahimsa, the dharma, that non-violence. That your responsibility, your obligation. As you have got your own soul, even small creatures, whether it is cockroach, whether it is ant, you have to understand. If you ask me, that in the introduction also, I did not speak much. That you should not be afraid of the very subject. That I kept myself, low profile. The point is, that I don't know, the rangoli design, that the people make in Tamil, it is called kolam. They make, during Margari, month of Margari. As, of course, that the January, the bhajan, everything, early morning, you might be aware. So the ozone layer comes down, people benefit. They've got their own, that actually interpretation. You might be aware. So people do bhajan, all those stuff. There will be, that lot of, that the columns, that by women in front of the homes. It's a mark of celebration. And that the powders they use to make that, particular design, color design, we are talking about at the entrance of the home, you might be aware. Those days they used, that rice powder. So that, all small creatures will come and eat. If you go and directly tell your women, that you do this, that too in the early morning, 3 o'clock, they will get up and do all those, that even the late night they do, after that they go to sleep. You might be aware. The columns, the rangoli designs they make during Margari month, of course, January month. Yeah, very good evening, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Unacademy. Yeah, no problem. If it is first class, that after finishing this session, you please watch the previous video, Ethics and Integrity Introduction session also, you understand more. Don't worry. So it is that way. What happened, right? That the people ultimately, use that, the rice powder, so that all small creatures will come and eat. Be kind to every kind, not only mankind. Let me recall. Be kind to every kind. Be benevolent. Be kind to every kind, not only mankind. Let me recall once again the Vallalar statement. That vadiya pairai kandabodellam vadine. Whenever I see a plant is dying, I feel as if I am dying. This is extraordinary sensitivity. You never differentiate yourself from the plant or from the the other creatures. Be kind to every kind, not only mankind. That if our women are told, directly go and feed that, small creatures, they won't. But maybe it has become part of religious practice, in the name of ritual, in the name of ceremony. We do a lot of things. They've got that a clear-cut meaning. Probably people lost that the meaning or interpretation. It has become rituals and ceremonies. Each and everything has been created behind a reason. You might be understanding. So you see, our culture has got a part of tradition to feed small creatures also by various rituals. You understand that point? Not to kill, not to harm, to feed rather. Because you got responsibility. With more power comes more responsibility. We are talking about your duty is to feed them. It's your obligation. Dharma. It's non-violence. Ahimsa, you talk. The human value of doing one's duty is closely related to non-violence. We are talking about. It is that way. That reasonable tendency. When you talk about responsibility, it is a reasonable tendency to wish to avoid harm to creatures or their environment, wherever available. We are talking about. See, once you become, that more sensitive, once you become the practitioner of all those ethical standards, that makes you to move to the next level. Of course, it's not by force. It's not by somebody else, expectation. You do it on your own. The religion is all about, experiencing by yourself. That's what religion. It's not by somebody else, force or, that persuasion. You do on your own. You understand. Maybe, that it is that way. You evolve in front of your eyes. That's fantastic. Then, of course, when that is the situation, you try to avoid harm. You become vegetarian. I'm not promoting any vegetarianism here. It's up to you. So, you think about that. There was, that the social network also, that there was video, no, I don't like to, eat fish. A small kid will be speaking that way because, they will be killed, no. A small baby, that, I don't like what their parents will feel bad, no. A small, that young girl talking about, that she that doesn't want, that the living things killed. She wants vegetarian items like that. The way with which you extraordinary, the feeling, the maturity shown by the kid. I'm not promoting any isms here. It is that way, that when you got soul, when you got, that life, that even a fish has got life. A plant has got life. That tendency with which, that there comes your obligation. That's what we are going to discuss in environmental ethics as, that stewardship. So, that your obligatory part we are talking about. So, you take a vow, promise not to harm the creature. Of course, it takes time to reach that level, but it's very fortunate young kid. That was fantastic. If possible, you watch that. Respecting the integral nature of the ecosystem. That the prana of the earth. That it's not only for the very humanity, and you got other species also. Hello, more than human. Other flora, fauna. It's not only living things, even non-living things, biotic and abiotic. It's a home for everyone. How come you can feel proud that it's as if it's your own planet, it's your own home? What about others? Don't try to silence the voice of those people. Of course, that it's an ecosystem. It is symbiotic. You can't disturb that. So, respecting the integral nature of the ecosystem or the socio-natural environment as against the destructive influences of pollution. See, the pollution, what we do, whether it is air pollution, water pollution, land pollution, and the way with which we misuse, abuse, even the electronic waste, the construction waste, the medical waste, we dump somewhere. It has got its own impact. Now, the very species will be wiped out in that particular region. Its impact and excessive, that beyond the susceptibility level, beyond the rejuvenation level, that excessive exploitation. Now seawater, that entering, penetrating, that our groundwater table ultimately, making the water saline in the especially coastal regions we're talking about. It is, that exemplify the spirit of, that non-violence, ahimsa. They're talking about, that it is not for the sake of your living, you try to disturb or destroy the lives of other species. You have to understand the nature of ecosystem, biodiversity, biocentrism, environmental ethics, we call it. That way it is judgment. So, inherently sensed value that prompts us, that to draw back, that from the unethical meddling in the life process. Got the point now? So, it is ultimately, that you will come out of that, you inherently sensed value that prompts us, you realize, you understand. So, ultimately you resort to action. What is that? You withdraw from there. Ultimately, what is that? From unethical meddling in the life of. For the sake of your living, who gave you authority to kill somebody else's life? Don't say, sir, this is what life cycle. The lower order, higher order. We are talking about, that alternative means we are talking about, of course, the survival of the fittest, natural selection. I understand. That the origin of species theory we are talking about. Yes, there comes, that your choices, of course, we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that way. Why? You feel obliged. You got obligation. You got responsibility to take care of others, other living beings. That obligatory part we are talking about. With more power comes more responsibility. Ladies and gentlemen, that's centered around the notion, of course, that non-violence, not only the lot of things we are talking about. So, the knowledge of what is true combined with insight into what is good. Not only what is true and what is good. Ladies and gentlemen, you understand, that the basis we are talking about, or the basis. Yeah, very, very good evening, everyone. That I can't type, well, my ID, that in different tone getting reflected, but you watch, you type all your questions. After that, I'll try to, reflect back. So, knowledge of, what is true combined with insight into what is good are the basis of the duty. Also conceives, that as acting rightly. We are talking about, that not only that, the obligatory part, what we are saying, dharma or action is in accordance with, the universal law of the nature, especially both physical and human nature we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, you understand, that the TRLPJ. I'm yet to discuss justice. T, truth. That R, responsibility. L, love or care. P, peace be discussed. Now, that of course the very justice we have to discuss. We are discussing the basic human values expected on the part of every human being. Of course, that gives that fantastic personal relations. You become composed. You stay in harmony. You stay at peace. Then that facilitates you to enter into relationship with others. Of course, ethics in social relationships, where we are going to bring the Nolan Committee recommendations of UK. That's a separate topic. Ladies and gentlemen, the justice. What is justice? It is a major human value that embraces the most aspects of social life. They're talking about most aspects of social life. That if there is no justice, that's what I said. As said, by Martin Luther King, when there is injustice in the relationship, when there is injustice in the relationship will not be long lasting. The relationship will not be long lasting. So you need justice based on the idea of that the fairness, where the equality of every individual before the law is fundamental. Based on the idea of fairness, we are talking about. Based on the idea of fairness, that equality of individual before law is fundamental. We are talking about that. So in front of law, everybody is equal. Even Article 14 and 15 part of the Constitution talking about that. That's fair. The equal treatment to all you are talking about. It is that way. Not only that, we have gone next level also, more than this justice. Equity, we started addressing equity. We understand the unique problem on the part of every sections of population. More than equality, we started addressing equity. Ethics is all about that. They're talking about. So social value, this particular justice as a social value aims to resolve and reduce the conflict. Aims to resolve and reduce the conflict, guided by the principles of care and non-violence. Of course, that you understand, na? Dharma, I don't know how Gandhi enunciated, came to his mind. When experiment with truth, that's something extraordinary. Practice truth. What I'm talking, everything is available in that truth. The truth, the love, the care, the sacrifice, that he suffered. The unwavering commitment to that the ahimsa, he did. It is that way. Come on. So it is that way that resolved so much of conflict we had with Europeans. Of course, you might be aware the British colonization and reduced the conflict. Of course, what happened, that resulted in India's independence. You might be aware. So social value, the justice which aims at resolve and reduce conflict and guided by the principles of care or love and non-violence we are talking about. It's also the aim to achieve social justice for the perceived, the common good. It's good for everyone. There is no, the justice that affects badly. Otherwise, even people got affected, a section of population, you reject them, you ignore them. Then they will form a separate group, pressure group, they will challenge. They enter into protest. Then that affects the peace of everyone. That way, the justice, the fundamental spirit of that life we are talking about. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, I think it is right time. Let me take you to that next that level of justice. The classical Greek idea, especially the justice which gave rise to the concept of human rights. The moment you recognize justice, then you recognize the inherent potential on the part of every human being, the dignity. Ultimately, you call human rights. And you come to know which got formalized the Charter of 1948, Geneva Convention. Even in US, you see the Bill of Rights, the US Constitution. Here in India, fundamental rights, where you talk about Article 12 to 35. You got the evolution. Ladies and gentlemen, the idea of justice, of course, that it is that way. So, that it is not, the exclusive idea of the Western world, classical Greek idea. Even we, our that the Indian tradition, the Hindu tradition, the Upanishads, everywhere, it is practiced, that you see the very spirit of non-violence there. You see there, the non-violence, the dharma, the justice there. So it's not new, that it is not, that the Western imported concepts. At the same time, you have to understand, maybe you can talk about the contemporariness, in parallel, that with this, India's dharma or non-violence, you had something there, you can talk about it. So of course, that the wide-ranging political relevance we are talking about, that the justice as a principle, as a value system, striving for egalitarianism, egalitarianism where everything is for everyone. In Tamil, it is called Samadharma Samadayam, where all resources are equally accessible to all the members of society, especially in political democracy. That it's for everyone. No section of population feeling aggrieved or victimized or getting rejected. That's a pure social justice or socialistic pattern you witness there. That's even Nehruvian model. Nehru chose, that socialistic pattern. Of course, that they could not maintain, sustain, the corruption and the white elephant public sector units. Now, the ruling dispensation leaning towards, that the capitalistic tendency. That's different scenario. For every thesis, antithesis, then synthesis, well. The deep Vedic sense of ahimsa, you just see, the deep Vedic sense of ahimsa, it is understood being universal in implying the respect for all living beings. Of course, that is justice. All living beings, that even non-living beings, that you start extending, the respect. We are talking about that also. It's that way, that what you give, you get back. That way we are talking about. So the deep Vedic sense of ahimsa, the dharma, the non-violence, it is understood being universal in implying, that especially the respect for all living beings. I'm talking about, you understand the very justification for the justice, of course, that the basic human values we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, sorry. Yes. Now it is the right time. Let me take you to the contributions from thinkers or reformers, leaders or administrators, great personalities. In that sense, I have to begin with, the Western moral thinkers I'm talking about, where, as I told you, the SPA, Socrates, whose disciple Plato, then Aristotle, we are talking about. Of course, we have to discuss Socrates. Even the morning, as I told you, right, we discussed unexamined life is not worthy of living. That's, everybody should undergo that introspection. Even Mahatma Gandhi's My Experiment with Truth. Well, it is that way. Of course, we talk about, so the virtue ethics. What is virtue? It's that this Western moral thinkers, what I'm calling Western moral thinkers, of course, that the Greek world, ancient Greek world, where you call, that the Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, everybody, of course, even Epicureans, that Stoicism, you're going to talk about sophisticated people. Even Epicureans are also almost like that. The pleasure is better than pain. The happiness, they run after happiness. You will come to know everything. So this everything put together, you call, of course, that Western moral thinkers. Let's begin with Socrates today. What is that? The behavior of high moral standards. That's what you call virtue. High moral standards. You never compromise. You always do what is right. Right, that you never choose comfort in place of right, because that's what the standard you reflect upon, the principle you reflect upon. Otherwise, the principle with which you are brought up in such a way, you come to know. It's not only that, that it's always thinking righteousness we are talking about. It's called rectitude. What is morally correct behavior, you always choose. Of course, you may also get defeated by that. Nothing wrong. It's a setback, that's all. Eventually, you will win. Rectitude we are talking about. Thinking righteousness. You have to think from others' point of view also. You should not harm others. You should not put others in danger. That should not threaten their peace. For that sake, that you take back seat. You feel it's not defeat. It's a temporary setback by resorting to this rectitude. Nothing wrong. Because well, in the long run, you win. The truth alone triumphs. We are talking about. It is rectitude, virtue, that the meaning. And what do you mean by Epicurean? I think you watched movie, The Troy. Epicurus. Achilles, that the very, the word, well, Troy movie, no? The Brad Pitt. It is that way, that you see, that's clear-cut example how the wining and dining culture, the Greek society, you might be aware. Even you see Socrates there, of course, Epicurean. It's a disciple or student of Epicurus. Who is Epicurus? Of course, the very Greek philosopher we are talking about. The disciple or students of, that Epicurus called Epicureans. And what is that? Otherwise, the meaning, person devoted to sensual enjoyment. That senses, got the idea, na? Wine and dine culture, especially from fine food and drink wine. That's what, the Greek society. Even today, that the part of European Union, the PIX nations, Portugal, Italy, Greece, that you might be aware, na? And Spain, all put together, what happened, right? They are responsible for putting down European Union, well. Lot of bailout packages. Because why? 360% of GDP external debt. Wine and dine culture. They do nothing. Even our own, the celebrities go and conduct marriages. Whether it is Virat Kohli, even, the Deepika Padukone, the story, Ranbir, we're talking about, Yeah. Yeah, Deepika Padukone and Virat Kohli, you're right. So, that they spend, it is that way, the extravagant culture, you might be aware. You would have watched a lot of things in Netflix, I know. Right. So, you talk about that, they are called hedonists, pleasure seeker. Pleasure is better than, that in Tamil they are called Swagavasi. They love comfort, they never come out of the comfort zone. Hmm? Even people who buy, the Honda, they will always buy Honda. People who buy Fiat, they will always buy Fiat. People who buy, that luxurious model, Benz, they never compromise. Why? The comfort. Rolls Royce, comfort. It is hedonism. It is that way. Of course, that at the end of the day, you have to lead comfortable living. I understand. But, that is there any dharma, righteousness? That comfort will be long lasting. Otherwise, well. Just that way, the hedonism, the pleasure seeking, the sensualist, they are called, they all are called Epicureans. Maybe they're called, disciple, student of Epicurus. But the point is, that's what the meaning we're talking about. So, Epicureans, Stoicism also, I'm going to say, the virtue ethics of, that Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, Epicurean, Stoicism put together called, Western moral thought. Otherwise, we begin with Socrates today. Of course, let me take you to the next level. The Stoicism, Stoic, who are all called Stoics. Of course, it's a school of, that Hellenistic philosophy, that you talk about. It's a Greek, the philosophy, part of Greek philosophy we are talking about. Hellen, you call it Hellenistic philosophy. So, the Roman and Greek world until 3rd century AD, they practiced this Stoicism. What is this Stoicism? If you ask me, the philosophy of personal ethics, where you are talking about system of logic and its views on natural world. It's a pure science we are talking about. Scientific temperament, it's promoting. On the one side, pleasure, on the other side, scientific temperament. Logical connectivity we're talking about. Of course, that SPA, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, Epicurean, Stoicism put together the Western moral thoughts we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, I think it is right time. Let me take you to the next level. Of course, something about, Socrates. Let me take you to the next level. But before going, that in detail about Socrates, how the contemporary India or Indian philosophy, you have to understand, sir, you started addressing, as if something imported from Western world. No, it's not like that. So, the values and ethics, that in contemporary Indian philosophy, how the ancient Vedas, Rig, Yajur, Sama, Atharvana, Upanishads, and Bhagavad Gita, especially Nishkama Karma, you're talking about, that where you witness all these, values, the ethical standards. It's not something, that you find only in the Western world. How you come to know? Through the writings of, that Mahatma Gandhi ji, Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda acted as a bridge between Western tradition and Eastern tradition. They were in the wrong notion about India. India is a land of elephant, land of snakes, land of poverty. They thought that way. Almost like, banana republics, their notion. And it is he went there and said, that India, though it is millions of gods, that, the spiritual capital of the world. Brothers and sisters, you would have heard about that voice, no? Come on. It's also at the same time he said, that how do they respect women, the scientific temperament we have to take into account. He acted as a bridge. He connected, West with the East. That is what we are talking about. The building materials are same. Whether you want to be bridge or wall, it is up to you. The bridge connects people. Wall separates people. Well. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about that. So, Vivekananda, Swami Vivekananda we are talking about. And Sri Aurobindo, you might be aware, that the revolutionary, the freedom fighter, you might be. Even the Gitanjali, the Nobel laureate, of course, Sri Rabindranath Tagore. And also, that the philosophy, Hindu philosophy reflected by Sarvapalli Dr. Radhakrishnan, a teacher rose to the level of President of India. Through the writings of, even Mahatma Gandhi, through the writings of all people you come to know. The values, ethical standards on the part of India, the Indian philosophy especially. It's not something imported from the Western world or from Western moral thinkers. For your kind information, how the ancient Vedas, Upanishads, even truth alone triumphs. It's the Devanagari script we are talking about, from Mundaka Upanishads, for your kind information. You can ask me parallelly, sir, what is Upanishads? Of course, the sacred Hindu treatises. Sacred Hindu the text, otherwise you call the scripts, you call, written in Sanskrit. It can be located between 800 to 200 BC. The Sanskrit is said to be mother of our European languages. Don't fall prey to all those, plot of this, the identity politics, language based, all these guys. You learn, that how many languages you want to learn, you just learn. What is there? Don't fall prey to this, fools. They want to cheat you. So again, don't listen to them. As much as languages, that you want to learn, come on, learn. Nothing wrong in that. How, that's politics. That's different. Okay, you know what is right. So what I'm talking about, it is nothing wrong. You learn, that you learn Hindi, you learn Sanskrit, nothing wrong. That necessity is mother of invention. But I understand, I agree, it should not be forced. It should not be forced. I'm talking about, that your choices, your that preference should be in this direction of learning everything in the world, so that language is the vehicle of the culture. Once you learn the language, you understand the culture. You have to learn different languages, different cultures in the world, so that you feel you get integrated with the world. It's not living in the parochial world. Come on. So expounding the Vedas, that it is expounding the Vedas in a predominantly mystical and monistic terms. We are talking about. So that's what Upanishads. That you go for deep exploration of Veda. That is what Upanishads predominantly in mystical. Some you don't know how it happened. Some the mystical terms and monistic terms. That maybe the godliness we are talking about. The religious practices involved there. So Upanishads all about that. You come to know that through Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, ancient Vedas, especially through writings of all our leaders, you come to know. Ladies and gentlemen, is that way we are talking about? Yes, let me take you to the next level. Of course, now it is the right time. Let me speak more about Socrates. What is that? That he belongs to, of course, Athens, the Greece. The very location, contemporary, 469 AD. This is all the fact, just for your information. You're not going to write there, but the very thing, idea, how it is related to ethics, the various codes. There was a question last year. Quoting that quote, what do you understand by that? For that, you should understand what Socrates said. How it is different from what Plato is saying, how it is different from his, the guru. Of course, Socrates, how Aristotle is different from these people, that we are going to discuss everything. So the first systematic and moral thinker, we are talking about Socrates, especially from Greece. The period of, that particular period, what we are talking about, the great cultural expansion, he could witness. Great cultural expansion, that coincidence, that, but what happened, he was accused of corrupting, or contaminating youth and impiety, that towards God, irreverence, people develop towards, because the scientific temperament, you start questioning, you challenge the status quo. Ultimately, for every thesis, antithesis, the status quo is may not tolerate you. Moment you question, because they will never come out of the comfort zone. Otherwise, you threaten their, their survival. So finally, he was accused. You might be aware, and also that this argue, that Socrates argue against illogical reasoning and prejudices. So that it's not going by book. You question everything. Illogical reasoning, he argued against it, and prejudice, your whims and fancies, your bias, your speculation. It is that way, that. So all of his contributions of Socrates, more of ethical than scientific. In spite of the thing you talk about, that the scientific temperament, everything, the reasoning, what we are talking about, ethical. It's called more of ethical, because what is the right in a particular occasion? It's based on standards, the principles, the contribution of Socrates. What do you call ethical than scientific? And not only that, it did not sympathize with that ascetics, because you just see how they the wine. Of course, with women, of course, wine and dine culture we are talking about. The ascetics, that he did not sympathize with ascetics, the monks, or people who practice austerity. It's not like that. But he believed in enjoying life. That wine and dine culture, the Socrates, well known. And that's why, that what is that? Unexamined. They got their own justification. You have to examine everything. You undergo, you experience, then you tell what is right and wrong. It's not, the carry forward. You are not, postmaster to carry forward somebody else's message. You undergo the experience. Unexamined life is not worthy of living. You undergo. In Tamil, there is a saying, Kalavum Katru Marra. It's not carrying somebody else's message. You undergo that. Religion is all about, experiencing yourself. And lot of, that the people, that Nayanmar, that even the people, all the top religious people, once upon a time, they committed all crime. Even Arunagirinadar, the Valmiki, and so many people, you might be aware, that. So the wisdom came, that changed, the very life. Maybe wisdom, maybe blessings, whatever may. So unexamined life is not worthy of living. That when a bad person, turns into right person, you can't be like that. That's different story we are talking about. So that's different story. Ladies and gentlemen, so Socrates, sophist, because, comfort loving. Sophist, that the contemporary teachers, especially called sophists, sophisticated people, willing to argue, either side of the car, the modern day liars. Even Ram Jethmalani aptly says, Even Dr. Subramania Swami criticizing Ram Jethmalani. Yeah, he took everything for bringing back the money, black money, everything. What happened? No, finally, when we found the culprit, no, he spoke, he started arguing in favor of culprit. Professional ethics. Dr. Subramania Swami accusing Ram Jethmalani like that. You watch that video, algebra. Not algebra, that's separate argument over abrogation of Article 370. It's available in the YouTube, you know well. It is that way, that's what, that's why Ram Jethmalani, sophistic, the very intellectual, of course, that, no question about it. But, that their professional ethics, fighting for their own clients, of course, we are talking about, that even in that sense, Dr. Subramania Swami should be also, that accused. He also represented, so many people, the current people you might be. So the sophists, contemporary teachers, we are talking about, they are called contemporary teachers, modern day lawyers, capable of arguing both sides. That accordingly, who is the, see, in one particular argument, that Ram Jethmalani asking, what should I argue, which side I should argue? On the spot, they will argue. They will gather facts, they are capable of arguing. They are called sophists. It is not saying that, I will never compromise this value system, I will always argue this side. It's not speaking that way. That's what modern day lawyers we are talking about. Sophists, contemporary teachers willing to argue either side of the controversy we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, so objective content, we are it's objective content when you say, which is free from bias, free from speculation. You maintain, that you understand both sides, but you maintain objectivity. What is right? You say as it is. We are all born with innate understanding of their existence, but unfortunately what happened, this is, that speaking, taking sides, but we are born with, the very objective content. We never take sides. If you speak in terms of ethical standards, what is that? So, according to very Socrates, I'm various contributions of Socrates we are discussing. According to him, what is citizenship? If you ask, the individual's, own powers are independent of reasoning, argument, and judgment. That's what citizenship, according to him. It is independent of the argument or judgment or even the reasoning, the logical connectivity you arrive at. That gives you power, individual's own power that you can see in the name of, citizenship. So you know about it. Socrates, that statement. It is that way, ladies and gentlemen. Various contributions. I'm not taking you to the depth. I'm just contributing so that, you take it as a base. Then you work on, that so-called Subbarao or other materials, that you understand better. And beyond that, you gather information. So use rational understanding to rediscover the knowledge. So see, he speaks in favor of rational understanding. It's not accepting the faith. It is not, that accepting as it is, and you question everything. The logical connectivity, the cause and effect. Use rational understanding and rediscover, to rediscover the already existing knowledge. You rediscover, you redefine otherwise. It is that way. So it's completely getting shifted from the heroic virtues. That's what I'm talking about. The movie Troy. Achilles, the heroic virtues, the winning war. That is what. Even in Tamil, here it is called Purananuru. You have to go to war and win everything. Everything is justified. That ultimately people started worshipping that king as if God. He shifted. This Socrates, started questioning the status quo, shifted the focus from heroic virtues to the valor, the courage. They were appreciated, but it's a shift from there to question the existence, question the existing rules and regulation based on rationalization. That is a shift in attention from heroic virtues. You might be aware. That's what I'm talking about. So from monarchy to democracy, here you see the shift. That's based on logical connectivity. You started questioning. Of course, that he was, that poison. That's a different story. So moral life brought the men the very happiness. So only, see, here comes our, the spirit here. According to Socrates, the moral life, only by conducting moral life, you lead right dharma, that's based on righteousness, dharma, then you can be happy. The moment you, take, that ultimately adharma, you are heading towards destruction. That is what, if you want to live happily, you lead, that righteous life, dharma life. You understand what I'm talking about? So moral life brought the men the very happiness. This is according to, Socrates. Here you find, that the ethical principle. Of course, not only that, morality, that particular morality can be transmitted through education. You can teach that morality. People are not born with morality. They can be enabled. They can be socialized. Even, another video we discussed in the morning, you please watch. Educational institutions happen to be one of the institutions in inculcating value systems on the part of individuals. Part of socialization brought up. So that particular morality, the value system, what is right and wrong can be taught transmit it, because after all, socialization, where you talk about learn, share, then you transmit, pass down from one generation to another. That's what we say, lifelong process, cradle to grave process. So that morality can be transmitted through education. You can educate people, make them aware what is right, wrong. That's according to Socrates. And claiming that he knew nothing, that is the greatest thing on the part of the people. Even, that once, Maestro Ilayaraja, very well, that a music composer, Maestro Ilayaraja, so having crossed that 1,000 movies, he recently, that he was celebrated in that in Tamil Nadu by 75th year, you might be aware, to the film world, and the people asked, how come you can make this wonderful, masterpiece, fantastic, music? And he said, I don't know anything. I'm just trying to learn music. Sir, appreciate. I just used that, I'm cheating you. Aroganam, avaroganam. Sarigama padanisa, sanidapa magarisa. I'm just going for different combinations and using and changing the instruments also. But you people enjoy the different combinations. Ultimately, we say creativity, but I'm not doing anything. I'm just cheating you. Otherwise, he said, I know nothing about music. That comes from God. The God gave me. Like, he applies his mind. He starts writing codes. When they implement the fantastic music. What is that? That's humbleness on the part of Ilayaraja. Unassuming leadership. It's not, but the point is, that's what great people are. They'll be very humble. They say, that everything came from. Why? Even, that the mathematician Ramanujan used to mention, that one Namagari Pettai, that one Amman is responsible for my knowledge. I know nothing. He said, that mathematician Ramanujan. Ilayaraja says, I'm trying to understand what is the music you people are enjoying. So that is what humbleness on the part of the greatest people, the greatest contributors of the world. That is what. So claiming that he knew nothing. Socrates says, I know nothing. I know nothing. His way of stating that he had no fixed doctrine. I don't have fixed. No, that's what the greatest people. No fixed doctrine. But of course, you arrive at his contributions relevant to that our ethics portion. We took into account that so morality can be transmitted through education. Of course, that you can be happy only by practicing morality, and also unexamined life, unworthy of living. This is all the question came based on that. So idea of life focuses on self-development, especially in pursuit of the goodness, virtue, justice, integrity, friendship. See the value system. The subject matter of ethics, that his contributions we are talking about, from there we take into account the doctrine of soul. He believed in, the presence of soul, led him to believe that all virtues, converge into one. All virtues converge. The paths are different, leading to same destination. The doctrine of soul is, the soul came from, your soul came from greater soul. It will join back once the purpose is moved. This doctrine of soul, what Atma, Jivatma, Paramatma, everything. So led him to believe that all virtues converge into one. All paths leading to Rome. All different paths leading to the same destination called God, Almighty, or knowledge, or nature. It's up to you. So the good knowledge of one's true story, and purposes throughout the life. So it's talking about, the good knowledge of one's true story or purposes throughout the life. That he mentioned that, that it is that way. So whatever may be, it is, that knowledge is virtue. That's the point. Of course, have awareness, have knowledge. Knowledge is virtue. That is the point he's trying to emphasize, that all virtues, that ultimately leading to one. Maybe you call knowledge, maybe you call God. It's that way. His belief in doctrine of soul led him to believe that way. So knowledge depends on the nature or essence of things as they are. It talks about objectivity as they are. And underlying forms of things are more real than experienced exemplifications. That one guy, you call Allah, you call, Krishna, he calls Jesus, he calls, that Guru Gobind, whatever maybe, he calls, that Buddha, he calls, that maybe it's not equivalent, maybe preachers, Tirthankaras, maybe, Mahavira. But different manifestations, exemplifications, but what is that? It's all same, the common knowledge. Underlying forms, that of things are more real. You see the pattern behind it, that's common, that's real. Then this, the manifestations, you understand that way. It is that way, ladies and gentlemen. Then they experience the exemplifications we are talking about. You understand the truth is one, but manifestations are many. Of course, you can't. So all the forms, participate in and lead to highest. It talks about that the evolution from simple to complex. All the forms participate in and lead to the highest form. Highest form, maybe ultimate, the Almighty, or knowledge. What do you call it? It's that way. The form of good. He says good, not God. Good. What is good? Virtue. Virtue, the highest moral ground. We're talking about, ladies and gentlemen, I'm explaining Socrates here. So, teleological view, of course, we are talking about, that this teleological view, it's a philosophical attempt to describe things in terms of the apparent purpose or direct principle or goal. What is the purpose? What is the goal? What is the principle? It's a part of the philosophy. We are talking about the purpose, of course, that knowledge is virtue. The Socrates. The Plato's, own philosophy, his own disciple, we are talking about. The Plato, who wrote Republic, you might be aware, Plato's own philosophy has Socrates' doctrine as central theme, because his disciple, Socrates' doctrine is a central theme in all the writings of our contributions of Plato. Plato happened to be, you might be aware, that Socrates' disciple. And of course, ideologically, there are differences also, you will come to know. So, the virtue and knowledge to be identical. Otherwise, when you talk about Socrates, knowledge is virtue. Virtue and knowledge to be identical, so that no man knowingly does wrong. See the statement, no man, no, that, sorry, yaar, theriyama pannittiya in Tamil. I don't know, I did it out of ignorance. No man knowingly does wrong. People say, speak that way. Even today, no man knowingly does wrong, because they commit mistakes because they are unaware of the consequence. That's what that law says. You know what the maxim in law says? Na? Ignorance of fact is not an excuse. Don't say I don't know. You're supposed to know. You're supposed to know the land of the law or law of the land. You know, it's not the saying that I don't know. How do I know? Hello. So virtue and knowledge to be identical, so that no man knowingly does wrong. This is according to Socrates. You take into account. So the virtue is identical with knowledge. Is identical, that the knowledge is virtue. That's the meaning. It is getting re-emphasized. It can be taught, that not as a professional, that speciality, that it cannot be taught, that it can be, that it is not taught, it is taught, taught, T-A-U-G-H-T. Ladies and gentlemen, please take into account that way. Not taught. So it can be taught, taught, not as a professional speciality. As sophisticated, pretend, that is what, the sophisticated, they will say, I'll teach you how to lead good life. It is not teaching. It is, the doing, it is practicing. That there are guys, that how to lead good life. I'll teach you. What is that? Our guys, will pay money, will go there, will sleep there, come back, they will do, that routine. It can't be taught. By firm commitment. That you practice that way. It is that we are talking about. So virtue is identical with knowledge. It can be taught, not as that a professional specialty. That this is what is that way, but it is not a professional specialty. So Socrates gave no formal answer to how virtue. This is a criticism. So that till last minute he never told us that how it can be learned. That's a criticism against it. So you said, okay, sir, but how it can be learned? You never said. Whatever may be that, that of course this is according to the Socrates. You just have knowledge is virtue. People committing mistakes because they lack knowledge, they are ignorant, unaware. And also that he says that unexamined work, that unexamined life is unworthy of living. All these things we are talking about. So that at least that you understood something. And also that the various terminologies, deontology, it's part of the philosophy which talks about the study of the nature of duty and obligation. Deontology, even teleology, when you talk about, just now we have seen the purpose, cause, the explanation of the phenomena by purpose, then causes. That it's more than causes, we are worried about purpose, we are talking about. It's that way. No, just have the terms, then only you can understand Socrates. I want you to go through more based on that foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, it is right time, let me take you. I think, you got some information about Socrates, the Western moral thinkers, SPA, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, Epicureans, and as well as Stoicism we are talking about. We discussed about Socrates. Have some basic idea, you work on more. Last year there was a question, there may be another question from Plato this year or Aristotle this year. Why not think in that way? Yes, now let me take you to the ethical solutions. based on previous year questions. Again, 2019 questions, let's take up. This is, that part of, the contributions of great leaders, reformers, and administrators. That's what the syllabus you come to know. The question came 2019. What is that? A man is the byproduct of his thoughts. What he thinks, he becomes. Your decision. We're talking about it is that way, ladies and gentlemen. So, this is what Mahatma Gandhi is, of course, we're talking about, the statement. How do you understand this quote of Mahatma Gandhi? That's what the question. How do you understand? What's your opinion? Whatever comes to your mind, whatever you feel, you can write, reflect upon this quote of Mahatma Gandhi. It's not what Mahatma Gandhi said. Mahatma Gandhi's quote. Then what you feel. Come on, you write. That, the length and breadth when you write something, when you speak something, that will reveal your personality. Just one line, we will tell you who you are. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that way. So, thought, action, behavior, character, personality. Your thought leads to action. The action in the long run becomes behavior. Behavior in the long run becomes, forms your character. The character is part and parcel of your personality. Personality is the representative device of the culture you belong. The culture is a blueprint of the society. You understand? As an individual, how you are linked with society, ladies and gentlemen. You got your own link with society. How? Because society has got a culture which is blueprint of society. That you are all representative of your society. How? Because the cultural conditioning, you have been socialized, you have been brought up in such a way. Your thought leads to your action. The right thought leading to right action. The action in the long run, behavior. And then character. It is that way, so that's why a man is but the byproduct of his thought. This is according to Mahatma Gandhi. We are talking about. What do you think you become? As you think, you become. That's what, that even the Earl Nightingale, even Swami Vivekananda speaks that way. Whatever may be. So, actions of a person are largely determine the thought process. No doubt at all. That something conceived here, you start executing. The brain commands, ultimately you start. One's thoughts are the first engagement points in the society. Through thoughts, that you introduce yourself. You encounter the society. The thought leads to action. It is that way, ladies and gentlemen. Thoughts impact the behavior as well as attitude. The attitude is nothing but character we are talking about. The attitude is nothing but character. The character is otherwise called attitude. While molding the actions, you understand the connectivity we are talking about. We are establishing connectivity. So first you have to understand the connectivity between your thoughts and actions and your behavior, and your character, the part of the personality. Molding your personality, we are talking about. Otherwise, you are also the byproduct of your decision. Decision is, that your firm decision, the firm thought, the committed thought we are talking about. That's what you call decision. Decisiveness of your thought. Ladies and gentlemen, so it therefore becomes very important for thoughts to be fixated, to a compass of morality and conscience. Otherwise, the consequence. If it is not, regulated by the morality, what is right and wrong, if it is not, that by your inner voice, the conscience, what will happen, well. Otherwise, if you don't practice that emotional intelligence, if you don't tame in such a way, if you don't mold your thoughts in such a way, it may have, that the variety of consequences. Better to tame. So every product is consumed twice. Once in your mind and another one, that the outcome. So I want you to visualize the product here. What will be the consequences? It is every product is born twice. The conception and realization. That way, ladies and gentlemen, I think that. So your thought influences your actions. That of course the ethical behavior and regulation of actions emerge from the ethical thought process. Now, the cut at supply level. What is in our thought process? The inculcation of the value system done by socialization that leads to the behavior in a particular case through actions. You understand that way? It is that way, ladies and gentlemen. So the thoughts are reflections, that on experiences. What we are talking about open up possibilities for the choices of action to be taken into account. So everything is here. All is well. Huh? All is well. All is well. It is that way, that you take care of your thoughts. Thoughts live long. Actions, that people forget, but thoughts live long. The legacy. It is that way, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about. So the thoughts are reflections on experiences, open up possibilities for the choices, that of action. What sort of action can be taken into account? That's based on, that thoughts, that ultimately opening up the possibilities, so that this particular kind of action can be resorted to. It's because of the thought. That understanding and awareness of one's thoughts and feelings, that's greatest part. Once you understand your thoughts and feelings or emotional intelligence, that can help regulating, that your actions, his actions or her actions accordingly. If you don't understand, if you don't have control over your thoughts, definitely you can't have control over your action. Uncontaminated, untamed mind we are talking about, that demands your emotional intelligence, that ability to use your emotions intelligently. You know how to control your emotions and parallelly capable of controlling the emotions of others. We have got another question we're going to discuss. That is what emotional intelligence. There comes Daniel Goleman, Peter, the John Mayer, the Peter Salovey, John Mayer, to rescue through ability model and general definition. Right? It is that way we are talking about. So emotional intelligence to regulate all, that because to channelize your thoughts, that that ultimately sometimes that you eat your pride, you silence your ego, because that's bad. The moment you unleash your potential, sometimes you eat away everything. You become silent, you be passionate. Why? It's because of the emotional intelligence. Ladies and gentlemen, for example, while thoughts of that the kindness and compassion can create more empathetic value, the thought of kindness and compassion we are talking about, that can create ability to share, understand the feelings of others. And thoughts of violence and anger can contribute to making up the criminals in the society. You see different kinds of thoughts. The moment you are kind, benevolent, and you practice compassion, definitely you become that empathetic. You become greatest personality. But whereas that the moment you practice violence and anger, you try to destroy people. Ultimately, you create that that's what that ISIS, Al Qaeda, Osama bin Laden, everybody did. So what is the point? Violence and anger can contribute to making criminals. They become that antisocial elements. It's that way. Two kinds of thoughts. What is the origin? Ultimately, thought. Thought leads to action, behavior, character, personality. This is what we are emphasizing. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, it's that way we are talking about examples. Also, in the world of technological advancements, especially we are talking about artificial intelligence, big data, they invoke new questions, especially around ethics, the present day society we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, you understand, na? So that what sort of ethics can be practiced, that in the name of, you try to control the whole humanity through technology. Of course, you hear cyber snooping, the whole world is under surveillance, otherwise that in the world of the big data, that your commodity to be manipulated, algorithm, what you watch, ultimately you see parallelly the sponsorship in your social network. It is that way we are talking about. So you are manipulated in such a way. Someone sitting there in the R&D of MNC deciding what kind of shirt you have to wear, what kind of pant, what kind of dress, your consumerism behavior is getting influenced by the data. The moment you reveal yourself to the data, the social network, you are manipulated. It is that way we are talking about. So there we are talking about the ethics, the present day life. It's a challenge, the technological advancement. And also individuals thinking, that has become more self-centered, in the name of privacy. And under the impact of, the increasing individualism and consumerism, we are talking about more privacy, more individualism, achievement, consumerism. It is self-centered. Ultimately, that is what that we are talking about. That your automobile industry and gas emission, exhausting fossil fuels. That even though we talk about Bharat stage 3, 6 norms, everything. Even though we go for hybrid cars, and also we talk ultimately individuals detachment from the community. That because that's what we say. The eagles will never hang out with chickens. The statement ultimately. You never go with mediocre people, because there is a saying, you have been instructed, you are the average of the 5 people you are in touch with. Who are all those 5 people? Will you go with odd mediocre people? The mediocrity in terms of what? So there comes a lot of questions like that. So individuals detachment, ultimately you get secluded in the name of privacy. That you feel aversion to mingle with the common populace. You don't want, otherwise you feel you don't want downgrade yourself. This privacy, individualism, achievement, consumerism, your choice, your taste, that's leading to that path. When you want that achieve great purpose, that demands that the great people, a team. When you walk alone, you walk faster. When you walk with your network, walk far and larger. and longer. But the network, I'm questioning the network. When the task is huge, great, that demands, the team. The role of team, crucial. So, it's better to mingle, collaborate with others. That's what I've said today. I'm not saying, that even Charles Darwin has said. For effective, that the productivity, please collaborate with the effective people. Come out of the clutches, come out of the comfort, come out of your inhibition. That's what, so that the thought to mingle, because you've got a greatest task, that the purpose in front of you, the challenge in front of you. So there has also been an increased desire from the market and the state for control over people's that, that's what I say, through technology, through various mechanisms, they try to influence your, through advertisements, that social network, that even the TV, they influence your thought process, no doubts at all. They want to take inroads in you. They want, they encroach your, privacy to all those gadgets. You might be aware. That's what's happening, ladies and gentlemen. It is that way we are talking about, that. So it is that way all your decisions, ultimately, that you are the byproduct of your decision. You are the byproduct of your thought. So how the thought is getting, that protected from the influences, that unethical behavior, unethicality. Otherwise, that how with the so-called thoughts, you can ensure the ethical world that benefits the whole global community, the humanity. So there is not only the violations of, that violation of a person's right to speech and expression, also reduces individuals' tendency to question. What happened now? People become submissive. They never question. It's not complete violation. There is a saying, that அடிமையின் மனதில் புதிய முயற்சிகள் வராது. That you can't see the creativity, the greatest creativity on the part of, slavery. Because they lost the ability to question everything. Question the status quo, the challenges, the creativity, new things, new combinations. No, not at all, may not happen. But the mind is without fear, the head is held high. We're talking about. If the mind is without fear, the head is held high. Ladies and gentlemen, that way we are talking about, of course. It is in these times, that the people, what happened, right? The people's ability to think freely in society should be nurtured. That's very important thing. That the free thinking. That's what, fundamental right. Freedom of speech and expression. Even the Supreme Court judgment came in, that against that Shaheen Bagh, that they should not decide where to be conducted. Because when you talk about, the collective expression, that it's, a simultaneous, expression of, the people's opinion. You should not decide where it should be done. Supreme Court judgment, that came under criticism. You might be aware. The free thinking, but at the same time, each and every citizens, that they have to understand you got, the reasonable restriction. That should not go against, public order. That should not create, law and order, the mechanism. Got the idea, not deterioration. So there comes your responsibility, Don't ask what the nation has done to you, what you have done to your nation. We are talking about parallelly. So they should be, that, so the people's ability to think freely, the creativity, the free mind, free expressions, that should be nurtured. That comes, that our responsibility. Society needs to emphasize more on the education. They're talking about more on the education, as inculcation of the critical ethical thinking can produce individuals can act ethically. So, that our societies, that emphasis should be more on education. That is the instrument of social change. That transforms an individual, taking them, taking the individuals towards, critical thinking, ultimately inculcation of the critical ethical thinking. You start questioning, is it right? Is it right? That question ultimately. So it is not simply, abiding by. You go with crowd, afraid of favors, afraid of losing favors, afraid of losing your comfort. Backboneless people. I'm not talking about. So can produce individuals who are ethically, that what happened, that thereby impacting society. Only those people with courage, like Gandhiji, they make impact. They make a dent on society. They leave legacy. It's not the submissive individuals. You question everything. Ultimately, right? That. So impacting society, nation, and the world at large. We are talking about. So that critical ethical thinking. That can be possible only through education. So education transforming individuals as an instrument of social change and as an instrument of socialization that emphasizes, inculcates value system in every individual towards that critical thinking. Of course, your thoughts leading to, that ultimately, that what kind of personality you are shapes your personality. Crucial role. You become, when you think you are strong, you become strong. When you think you are weak, you become weak. You become as you think. Is that way, ladies and gentlemen? So that's Mahatma Gandhi's that the very quote that your opinion that can be expressed that way also, and probably that's my humble way of that stealing different sources. I present it to you probably as model answer. You can also go beyond this. You can form your own that version, the unique answer that will be more effective than what I discuss in front of you. I become your foundation. After all, I just initiated you. You think more. I want you to work more in that line. Probably you will create wonderful answers that way. Ladies and gentlemen, I think it is that right time. Let me take you to the next the ethical solution based on another previous year question, of course 2019, where we are talking about where there is righteousness. Of course, where there is righteousness in the heart, there is beauty in the character. When there is beauty in the character, there is harmony in the home. When there is harmony in the home, there is order in the nation. And it is when there is order in the nation, where there is the peace in the world. So it is ultimately the connecting individual dharma, righteousness with global peace in the world. You understand? We are talking about. So see, Dr. Abdul Kalam, of course, that the people's president. You might be aware. It is opinion. Don't say as an individual I don't have responsibility. Yes, you have your own responsibility. Where we are talking about Abdul Kalam, had highlighted the importance of the quality of righteousness. That it is his role, and through his the quote, he had given beautiful connectivity between heart, character, and nation. I'm answering. Actually, this is the template answer. I'm dealing with you. You can apply how the answers could be. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way we are talking about establishing the connectivity, because even the the another video also we emphasize Dr. Kalam. The role of connectivity, connector. That how individual can be connected with the society we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, righteousness is the quality of being that morally right and justifiable, that which forms the basis for any peaceful and prosperous society we are talking about. There is no peace, there is no prosperity without that righteousness. And also the religion focuses on that the righteousness we are talking about. Even Hindu mythology texts where it is that emphasize the practice of righteousness or dharma we are talking about. And also it is the ideal path or ultimate duty of every human being towards dharma, right? We are talking about it is that way. Not only that, it lays down the path for enabling peace in the society, and by focusing on individual rejuvenation as the focus of all activity. These are all the things, the solutions, and also, that to reform and integrate the whole society. This is by practicing, that righteousness, dharma, in what way you can, that lead to, the global peace. Well, no need of talking about that. And also even 3rd century BC, Ashoka promoted the god of Dhamma, Devanam Priya Priyadasi, Dhamma policy. That it's called Dhamma policy. And I personally visited the Dhaulagiri, of course, that where it's written in Prakrit language, where the very Kalinga war fought. I visited that place in Odisha. Now, of course, how to have the feel, that the Dahi river. Now, the people said, that was full of, that blood, the dead bodies, where ultimately that forced him to embrace Buddhism. That way, the ahimsa. Of course, that the Ashoka, Devanam Priyadasi, Dhamma policy. All citizens are my subject. The paternalistic nation, what we are talking today, you can find the reason. The king said, they are my sons and daughters. They are not citizens. He took that level, his empire. So that he said, that ideal, what was said, that ideal social behavior for promoting peace and enabling prosperity in the kingdom we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, so the contemporary society has been, that digressing, that the form, that from the path of, righteousness. Of course, you see the deviation, the present context, that you talk about. Antisocial elements are more everywhere. At any cost, they have to earn money, and they have to, that invest in themselves. That's what I said. One minister has earned wealth to the extent of, buying 2 floors in Burj Khalifa. I don't know what people are vigilance, CBI guys or enforcement directorate guys are doing. Of course, you make difference, that let the corrupt system go. You make some difference ultimately, that you can do. You can make wonders. Otherwise, how long they will cheat? When you get opportunity, screw them up. I'm saying, that in that way you do justice to your society. Nothing wrong in that. How long? That's what I'm saying. Injustice, how long? One day find money. They'll come to the roadside. Don't worry. Only time is the difference we are talking about. That. So it is that way. So the behavior and has shown more inclination towards the materialistic way of life. That the people's materialism, of course, but if it is based on dharma, righteousness, that's totally different. By adharma also, that's what I'm talking about. So that's what the contemporary society we witness. Of course, maybe the Kali Yuga, where you see that all those that deviations, which has led to the eruption of several social and societal problems we are talking about. Several social and societal problems we are discussing. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. I think, ladies and gentlemen, it's right time. Let me take you to the next level. It's not only that. If individuals follow the righteous path, they are more likely to spread happiness to others. The moment you practice, the dharma, of course, that you are happy and your neighborhood will be happy. And that you succeed in their personal endeavors also, because you become role model, because they are very comfortable. They trust you. It is that way you become, that source of inspiration for them, and will contribute to the upliftment of their household status we are talking about. Then you start contributing to the society, and which indirectly will contribute to the happiness and upliftment of society. This is what, of course, let's recall. Righteousness on the part of individual leading to ultimately the beauty in the character. When beauty in the character, harmony in the home. When there is harmony in the home, there will be order in the nation. When there is order in the nation, there will be peace. This is what, that begins with, charity begins at home. Of course, Gandhiji's statement once again, be the change that you wish to see in the world. If you want to have peaceful world, first, that begins from you. What you did, what's your contribution? As, John Kennedy put it, don't ask what the nation has done to you. Ask yourself what you have contributed to the nation. It's not waiting for others to change. First, you change yourself. You become, it's not outside in, it is inside out. இருக்கும் இடத்தை விட்டு இல்லாத இடம் தேடி எங்கெங்கோ அலைகிறாயே ஞானத்தங்கமே. So that is the level. Let it get recorded. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, of course, the great leaders or reformers, administrators. That's what our discussion. The contributions of them, especially hitherto. We have seen how Mahatma Gandhi, even the Socrates, Western moral thinkers. That now we are discussing the quotes of Dr. Kalam. That how righteousness on the part of an individual is responsible for the peace in the world. That is what we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. I think you can take into account. It is that way. No worry. You got it. Of course, that similarly, the more prosperous society, that will contribute, that to more prosperous nation we're talking about. It's that way. Other way of round we are talking about. So, for example, that when you talk about terrorism, that has become, severe menace in the Western Asian countries, the Middle East especially. That is threatening the safety and security of the whole world. Maybe few misguided youths, maybe in the name of, that Islam, in the name of religion, whatever may be, the religion we are talking about. Misguided youth, misinterpreted religion. Otherwise, people for their own self-expediency. Otherwise, people with medieval mindset we are talking about. Threatening the safety and security of the people. You know well what's happening. So the focus on enabling the order of righteous path. These nations, that will contribute, that to the maintaining peace in the world. You understand what I'm talking about? So, righteousness in multiple dimensions in the society with indomitable spirit is essential. You're talking about, that. So, indomitable spirit, that is the thing, that you are not, it's unwavering commitment. Nobody can, that allay that. Suppress that. We are talking about indomitable spirit that is essential for realizing the vision of, Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam. Righteousness, not only at the individual level, in multiple dimensions. Talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. So, how the righteousness on the part of an individual is responsible for the peace in the world. This is just an idea how the answers can be presented. That it is just asking you to make your own opinion. The contribution about that particular code based on understanding. You can. Whatever, you can try to link. It is just, that one template, I've presented here. Let's German out of that. Not only that, let me take you to, that of course, the case study. As I told you, right, out of 250 marks, 120 marks belonging to, that your theories, perspectives, various thinkers, but whereas 130 marks belonging to the very case study. And you will be given a situation where you are, as an officer, that you encounter ethical dilemma, or maybe, that you face conflict of interest in the governing mechanism. What will be the, that you have to analyze, introspect the merits and demerits, and you have to take up action accordingly. The steps, what do you take, and provide ethical solution, given the context. So this is a case study approach where you are going to that analyze various stakeholders and understand the domain, and also the necessary information, the fact necessary, that on the part of that particular case study, and also you get the support of the various thinkers, administrators, and the great leaders, and the contribution, and also the quotes wherever necessary, and finally, of course, that meets the condition. That let's get into the very case study approach. What we are talking about? What is this? You are heading the rescue operation in the area, of course, that now we are talking about Nivar impact, huh? In the northern Tamil Nadu, of course, the coastal belt, you might be aware. And what happened recently, the flood situation, not only in Chennai, of course, the very Kerala, you might be aware what happened, the Mumbai regularly. So you are heading the rescue operation in an area affected by several natural calamities. As happened in Kerala, you might be aware. You have to appreciate the yeoman service on the part of the army people, CRPF people, and everybody, all stakeholders, administrators, everybody. We have to appreciate them. That you have to understand. So thousands of people are that rendered homeless and deprived of food, drinking water, and other basic amenities. It happens here too. It happens everywhere when there is a calamity. The rescue work has been disrupted by heavy rainfall and damage to supply routes also. It affected the logistic mechanisms, everything, the logistics and everything. The supply got affected because of it. Yeah, well. The local people are seething, that with anger against the delayed, limited rescue operations. And, it's very natural. People got victimized, affected. They will develop anger, thinking that the government is doing nothing, whatever, and may not be understanding, because they already they become, islands. They cut off from, the rest of the society. Maybe it's because of that, that maybe calamity or some other reasons. Maybe as we witness, that electricity. Nowadays, frequent electricity. I don't know what's happening there. Is it happening in the minister's home also? Is it happening in the high echelons? When it's happening for Aam Aadmi, they will prove in the elections. That's what will happen. So during calamity, what will happen ultimately? So ultimately this has different tone. People may not have electricity because that may lead to shock. They will cut off everything. Ultimately, no contact with the rest of the people. They lost charger, mobile phone, everything. Otherwise, the very transport mechanism got cut. Of course, it is very natural. They develop, that some sort of, suspicion about authorities. They are not coming and rescue there. Even tsunami times, how it happened, you might be aware. So when your team reaches in the affected area, the people, they are heckle and even assault some of your team members out of, that anger. You came, justice delayed is justice denied. They may not be knowing what is the right reason, but they went out. Safety valve theory works in such a way. So what happens that one of that your PA, that your team members, that is evenly severely attacked, injured. That also happened, right? So faced with this crisis, it's not entering into fray again. Come on, let me fight. It is that way. An eye for an eye will make the whole world blind. That's not the way. It's not through retaliation. Because you have to develop, because with more power comes more responsibility. They are ultimately affected people they're talking about. So that situation demands your passions. Of course, we are talking about even, the faced with this crisis, some team members, that plead with you, to call off the operations, fears of, sir, it's no, we are not working here. Please call off, that these guys are attacking. We came after all, to help them. When they're not ready, that readily receiving, why should we? Come on, let's go. It's very natural tendency on the part of your team members also. And given, reactionary, it's not response, reactionary. So that demands, in such trying, the circumstances, what will be your response as a leader? As heading, as a team captain heading the rescue operation, maybe part of CRPF officials team, maybe as assistant commander at the DSP cadre, of course. As that maybe as a district collector, you are heading the calamity team. They came and they're doing everything. Of course, you see, that how people rescued here. It is that way. So what will be your response? They are asking your response, not reaction. Understand? That that it's based on emotional. This particular case study demands your emotional intelligence. How to handle your emotions and emotions of others, so that it works towards the betterment of everybody. To examine the qualities of public servant, which will be required to manage the situation. How a public that servant should have an attitude here, even in this that emotional outpour, and on the one side people got victimized because of the calamity, and the other side, that your own team members got affected, injured to some extent, though you came there, to rescue them, to be part of solution. They don't understand. Highly emotional, the situation, environment, how to tide out the crisis we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the question, that what you will do. Of course, that, so the approach we are talking about, this is ethics in public administration, that we talk about values, maybe ethics in public administration, and also involves emotional intelligence. So LCR, I can talk about it, that I'm yet to deal with you, the ethics in public administration is separate, because today we have dealt only ethics in personal. I have to deal ethics in social relation, ethics in public administration, and also ethics in environmental standards, environmental, that situation, ethics in, that international relations. Here, let me supply something. The LCR, ITF, let me give you code. Just have an idea, formula. Let me give you recipe, don't worry. LCR, ITF, UNX. Sir, what is this code, sir? I will have separate topic discussion based on ethics in public administration. To have some just idea, let me supply. These are all the values involved in this. Apart from that, the clear thing, it talks about emotional intelligence. People, people got affected, they will lose the temperament. They lost emotional intelligence. But you are, going there to rescue them. You should practice this emotional intelligence. Apart from the values are the part of ethics in public administration. It is not taking law on your hand, right? That the law, you have to respect the law. It is not, someone, your team members, got injured, that you immediately retaliate. Even calamity situation, you should how to. Got the idea, na? So it is not, retaliating back, and that's illegal also to some extent. So that you have to bear, you have to immediately report. You should not take law on your own hand also. You have to, get the prior permission. Maybe your team member, talking to your predecessors, what way it can be handled. Otherwise, that takes some time. Let the emotions calm down. It is that way. So it is not, that without violating the law, legality. And also, you talk about, the compassion. This situation demands you to practice compassion. That they are human beings, got affected, got victimized because of the, the calamity. It is, you have to, the human approach that you have to practice. It is not, entering into fight again, the retaliating, right? The compassion you practice, because, not only that, the responsibility you practice. With more power comes more responsibility. They are powerless people now. They are victims, got affected. They are in the receiving end. But you are the powerful guy, went there to rescue them. You are more powerful. There comes your responsibility, your obligation to be part of the solution, not to complicate the situation. To understand that. Not only that, you show integrity. Got the idea, na? You understand. Of course, we understand. The practice, sometimes what happens, right? You might be aware. The Indian peacekeeping force, went to Sri Lanka. The name of peacekeeping operations, there are accusations that, that this, the forces indulged in, raping of their women. That's what LTT, got victimized. They took revenge. Ultimately, we resulted in loss of life of, the former Indian Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi. Of course, the LTT got decimated. That's a different story. But when people go there, ultimately, what happened, right? People personally get victimized. They become, strong enrollment for LTT then. So, taking advantage of this, that troubled situation, you should show integrity. You should know what is the truth. It is very natural. People got affected will behave. It is not, that affecting the modesty of women who speak, bad against you. It's not indulging in rape, taking advantage of the situation. Well. So where all, that the members part of this, rescue team should practice integrity. That is based on honesty. Even if nobody is watching, when you get opportunity, you have to rescue women. Forget about that here. What happened in Kerala flood? One army officer is bending down one lady, that the flood affected lady, putting her, that her leg on the back of, the very army officer, especially she is wearing chapel. But that guy bending, kneeling down, first to facilitate so that, that lady getting, safely, that boarded in that particular boat. Such is the sacrifice. It is not ego. It is not a male-female difference. It is my men, my women, my country people, I am protecting them. I am rescuing them. She is my sister. She is my mother. That is the attitude on the part of army officers. You have to understand. You would have watched that, that videos in there. That is integrity. And ultimately, all those people, that touching the feet and thanking when they are rescued. You have seen that videos out of, the gratitude. So that's fantastic. So it's all integrity. And also you be transparent while negotiating, while talking to them, while making them aware of the situation. You should be transparent. You should not have, clandestine talk among your people. So that creates some sort of suspicion. They may not, trust you. They may not come with you, or either women, children, whoever may be. When you've gone for rescue operations, if your body language, if you speak in such a way which is not, that developing some sort of faith in you. So where you are supposed to be transparent, I understand your problems. Of course, I'm your brother. That you are my sister. You people are, my family. We came here to rescue. You understand. We are very sorry. You have to cite all those, reasons for the delay. Ultimately, they understand. So the transparency you maintain. Ultimately, you mingle with them. Fusion. You go with people, ultimately try to get some support from their own members also. It's not saying, I am officer, you guy, you know nothing like that. No. Fusion, involve them. You unionize them with them, that you go with them ultimately. So because the task is huge, you try to take, help of everybody. Even the civil society, non-governmental organizations, you fusion with others, because the purpose, what is the purpose? You have to rescue the people safely, instead of allowing all your emotions to pour there and complicating the situation. And utilitarian, that is it creating maximum happiness for the people? That should be your motto, not taking care of your own officer, one officer. And the maximum happiness for maximum people, utilitarian. You do that, you practice nationality. You understand the unique problem on the part of, affected people. That's equity I'm talking about. I'm supplying formula here. You understand the equity. What is equity? It's more than equality. Equity is that you understand the unique problems on the part of, that the calamity affected people. Ultimately, got the idea? No? You show unwavering commitment in rescuing them, not allowing your, that emotions to pour in, yielding to the temperament that your fellow officer got into. And you become sensitive to the occasion, understanding that it is very natural affected people will retaliate that way. So you give them some time. Be patient. Sometimes you can touch the feet of elders also. They will come down. It's not arguing back and fighting, that equally. Yes, to diffuse the crisis, to come out of the deadlock, impasse we are talking about. So all these things, that the value system that you have to practice, part of, that ethics in public administration, you will come to know. You got, the three models like that. I've supplied one model. You understand, it is that. And also emotional intelligence we are talking about. When you talk about, that, so paga URP, let me give you another formula. Paga, don't worry, when I deal that topic, I'll be supplying. Paga, you are, that what happens, that you ultimately, that you try to understand, that you reach people in such a way. The very emotions, that you understand in that way, and also you access that emotions, and also you generate your response in such a way that assists your emotions. Then you understand, then you reflect and regulate. Finally, that promotes emotional and intellectual growth I'm talking about. That it is that way we talk about, you persist the emotion, access the emotion, generate your emotions accordingly. It's not reaction, response, and also that assists your emotional growth. Then you understand the feelings of others. These are all various steps I gave in formula. When I deal with emotional intelligence separate chapter, you will come to know whether Daniel Goleman, Peter, John Peter, of course, that John's, the Peter Salovey or John Mayer we are talking about. So then ultimately reflect and regulate. Finally, it promotes emotional and intellectual growth. This is what we are talking about. You've got another formula also. SS-MISS, social awareness, the social regulation and motivation and empathy involved that, social skills also. All these things what I'm speaking. So this is a variety of, the formulae on the part of emotional intelligence. It's all about you should know how to handle your emotions and the emotions of others given the situation, the grievances pouring in, the victimized people, because of the calamity. You should know how to, because motto should be to rescue people from the calamity, not complicating the situation, because you are part of the solution. You understand? Now you got the idea how to deal with, but your answer should speak all these, the keywords, without which your answer is nothing. You understand? Now let's go for some template, that which I have stolen from the market. What is that? That market in the sense, of course, resources, net resources. My response in such, that fervent atmosphere should be, the thoughtful, cogent. Of course, you understood. There should be compassion. Because that you should show sensitivity to the occasion, because that there are various dilemmas, ethical dilemma, whether to speak for your own, that the colleague got injured, or to discharge the duty, the very purpose for which you came, and rescue the people got aggrieved because of the calamity. We're talking that way, and also leaving thousands, that unattended when they are completely dependent on government help, and would be an act of timidity and self-preservation, which is unbecoming on the part of any public servant. That when they are in crisis, you should not leave them. You have to rescue them. Only during crisis situation, you have to support people. Normal situation, they will take care of themselves. The desperate times, desperate measures we are talking about. The right time, that demands, extraordinary tolerance on your part, emotional intelligence on your part. We are talking about, so you have to overcome that ethical dilemmas, so that that the rescuing people becomes priority. Ultimately, moral upliftment. We are talking about the primary response for me. That as the head of the rescue mission is that it is your opinion, as if you have written answer. That it is given. That you can also add value by incorporating all these values. What I said, as the values part of ethics in public administration. That is judgment I'm talking about, right? The primary response for me as the head of rescue mission is to reorient the focus of the group. It is right time, that you should not get divided. All your people should have, that one voice. Understand the purpose for which you have come here. Irrespective of, that the thing happened, that one of your members got injured. And that and understanding the priority, what is that? The real objectives. You have to, that be very focused, not be perturbed by all this, the obstacles happen. And since some of them are requesting to call up the mission, it's very natural, that the fellow feeling, the one person got injured, that to exhort them, with the examples like, that happened in Jammu Kashmir. Of course, we are talking about 2014 floods, that during that time, NDRF team started rescuing mission. They were pelted with stones. It's a different world, Srinagar. When I was there in Jammu, I told you, the pelting of stones, all those things, it's that way. So because first of all, they don't, that recognize you that you are Indian, because they speak on behalf of Pakistan. Misguided youths I faced. They were pelted with stones. Their boards, it's not all people, that one or two people like that. It's not blaming the entire, that they were 95% of the youths, that with strong determination to achieve something. And that I was very comfortable with them. So that when I went for giving special lecture, of course, they were pelted with stones. Their boats were snatched, and one of them, that stabbed. You just imagine how they did not yield. But in spite of that, what happened? You just see the NDRF, that national disaster, that the rescue, that the team what we are talking about, that so did not yield and went on to rescue more than that 50,000 people. That is what the strong determination of people. And where you are supposed to practice Gandhian, that satyagraha keeps. Even if you try to kill me, I will ensure that you are getting protected without even affecting my nails, harming in me. The strong determination, practice, protect them, rescue them. It is that way, that you deliver even in the crisis situation, and with sacrifice also. Ladies and gentlemen, initially, you might be aware when Mahatma Gandhi, that went for, that no Kali, you might be, how he was treated. With barefoot, he was walking on, the pieces of glass and animal excreta, thrown by riot affected people. He was unwelcomed, you might be aware. But his passions, tolerance, his determination to serve the people at any cost, irrespective of, that the obstacles. It is that way, that this unflinching courage we are talking about, and love for the humanity. Love for the humanity, that way. That ultimately, that created miracle when people themselves, promised not to tell. People came down. So after all, this guy is suffering a lot, for the sake of us. Ultimately, they realized that demands time, that demands your tolerance, passion. It is that way, ladies and gentlemen. So here, the anger of people is misplaced due to the popular perception of government servants we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way we are talking about. Once that the people witness self abnegation. We are talking about self abnegation, the dedication, courage, the rescue work that will start cooperating. We are talking about that it is that way. So that what we spoke, we have given the solution, and also that your suggestions. I'll try to that I would try to persuade people by taking help from those who are willing to cooperate. That is what the fusion addresses here. Go with them and exercise local leaders, and that you also get the help of local NGO, the local leaders or youngsters, that non-governmental organization, whoever may be, that the task demands so many people. Apart from this, I'll try to get cooperation from the government, parallelly rescuing, then and there, escalating the issue, that intimating your officials, the hierarchy, and getting, that more support from them. So, that make them understand the ground reality. So with respect to protection of, that, and also, that ensuring that your own team member got injured, that immediately taken to the hospital parallelly along with the people. So it is that way we are talking about, that. So you are part of the solution. It's not complicating the crisis further. Of course, the qualities required to effectively manage the situation. Of course, you have to see some, phrases through your bare eyes, that I want, that's why, apart from those values, the spirit of service, the determination to serve them, the commitment to serve them, we're talking about. Irrespective of, the obstacles, in spite of the obstacles we are talking about. So, since the rescue team is vulnerable to physical and verbal attacks, only some higher cause can help. You understand? The focus should be on serving people, then giving, the importance to this. In composed and coordinated, the rescue work. Got the point? So, by proper coordination and keeping your team, in strong composition, with unwavering mind, that the spirit of service is protected. We are talking about the qualities required, that to effectively manage the situation, that we are discussing. The second thing, of course, part of ethics in public administration, leadership. There is no leadership without sacrifice. There is no leadership without passions. There is no leadership without team spirit. There is no leadership without emotional intelligence. It is judgment we are talking about. In such circumstances, the finality of any decision lies completely with the wisdom of the leader. What the wisdom should practice all those value systems. He or she also needs to lead the team from front. It is not, that like covered, you stay back. You have to lead from front. You're ready to take on all those stones, whatever may be, sufferings. Then only your followers, your team members will come. It is that way, lead from the front we are talking about. So displaying personal courage and conviction there. It's that way leadership quality shown, that should be shown there as, that because you are heading the entire rescue team. And empathy and emotional, practice of emotional intelligence. That's what we spoke. And you have to understand the problems of affected people because of the calamity. It is very natural. The angry, the frustration, the suffered people hitherto, the loss of lives, maybe they would have lost, the livelihood, maybe the lost homes, all those, valuables. They don't know how to live. Even that situation, you have to understand the feelings. It's not fighting with them. It's not level playing field, first of all. There is no compatibility at all. So an officer, that needs to have empathy and emotional intelligence, for understanding the behavior of disgruntled local people. Otherwise, that one may abort the relief mission. If you don't understand, if you don't appreciate that problem, probably you will be in favor of aborting the mission, the relief mission. That you may be accused, you lost your emotional intelligence. You have to understand, it is that way. So the resort to use of, otherwise you resort to force to attack them. No, that's very bad. Which will only heighten the anger. The people got affected, it is adding fuel, that when there is a fire. No, that's wrong. So, that you practice empathy and emotional intelligence as, that ethics in a part of public administration we are talking about. Not only that, the qualities required to effectively manage the situation, we spoke, that, and one more, the ethics in public administration, power of persuasion, the art of leadership. You should move your members in such a way by extemple, that Winston Churchill wartime speeches you aware. Even Godfather and a lot of, Hercules and even Troy, the movies you would have watched. Even Independence Day, how the president of, US, the Potter speaks, the crisis situation, and gathering the support from, the whole citizens. The power of persuasion, that is art of leadership. And as a person heading the team in the leadership capacity, you should persuade, leading from the front. Also, persuasion. It is that way. So the people see things with anger and reactive and short-sighted, making them agree of some of the, that something, requires the power of persuasion. You persuade them, but you make them aware the very purpose for which, we came. It's a time to, that to work in coordination, in spite of the setbacks, in spite of the injuries. So it is that way you motivate your people in such a way by extemporary speech, so that, they are ready to listen to you. Then you go to, ultimately, that you participate in the mission and become successful. So what is that? The passions and presence. That demands, your passions, we told you. And also the presence of mind. Understand the ground reality. That's very crucial. It's not always speaking about ideal, the practical sense you have to. That way we are talking about the transparency. It's not hiding the facts to your authorities. transparency, that the public servant cannot afford to make, spontaneous decisions in such situations, but any further course of action should be guided by considerate assessment and swift thinking, that the situation demands in such a way. You have to act swiftly, so that, a lot of people are getting rescued. We are talking about, that demands your presence of mind and also swift thinking. So, the world of kung fu, speed and accuracy matters the same way. The speed and the accuracy with which you have to think, we are talking about it. So thus we need to have sensitivity of the situation and not blame the people for the reaction. So where you are supposed to practice emotional intelligence, and also empathy and support is the key to rescue people's, that the problems, people in problems. You understand now, it is that way. So we spoke, LCR, ITF, UNAC and emotional intelligence, but everything is a formal version. You can employ those values. Here I've given, that a template you can enrich, that, and more than that way we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. And also the reference resources, what we are talking about, the Lexicon of Ethics Chronicles and Ethics and Integrity Aptitude by Subbarao, and also Ethics and Integrity by Ramesh Arora, public service, especially Second Administrative Reform Commission, it is German. And also I want to take you to the morning when we were discussing, that the two, one case study and one question, I did not take you, that I that it is the right time, that let me take you to that level. Give me few. Give me a few seconds, please. I have to take that, separate a document, so that that will be also discussed as a plan idea. Otherwise, I'll close this directly because you know that. Don't worry. Here I thought of taking, sorry, yes, just all. Morning we discussed all. Other case studies there. After that, we have to discuss this emotional key. We are yet to discuss this. That's German, that I have to discuss one question, and that one the case study also, it is the right time. Let me take you here. That is German. Of course, it is right time. After that, we will come back to another case study talking about, that sexual harassment at workplace. Yes, what is emotional intelligence? If that's going to be, because there was 2019 question, I want you to understand that, how it can be answered. That there will be separate discussion based on that. Meanwhile, you please get the idea. Have the code, yes, yes, miss. If you don't have emotional intelligence, yes, yes, it will be miss. Keep in your mind that way. So what is that? When you say emotional intelligence, you know very well how do you handle your emotions, and also capable of handling the emotions of others. That it promotes, that emotional and intellectual growth, so that that benefits the situation. It is not your reaction, the response matters. We are talking about, that here, when you talk about emotional intelligence, that demands your self-awareness. That demands your self-regulation, your awareness about the situation. Even the recent case study, what we have seen, the calamity situation, the self-awareness, and also the self-regulation. You have to tame yourself. And also, that understand the problems, have empathy, ability to understand the feelings of others, empathy. And also you motivate, that yourself, and that your other emotionally God affected people at art of persuasion, even your own members, that you have seen the recent case study, the motivation, self motivation, as well as motivating the team. And also, the mingling, fusion, mingling with others, the social skills you develop with passion spite of the obstacles. So that gives you emotional intelligence. It's not IQ, it's not your ability that takes you to the greater heights, but it's your character, it's your emotional intelligence that keeps you there forever. It's a new kind of, you need this tool, how to get along with others in spite of obstacles. It's not, completely stopping yourself when you see obstacles. So the more obstacles you see, more should come up in life. Nothing stops you. All the stones thrown at you, that they become your stepping stones to reach the success in life. That is what you have to understand. You are unstoppable. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to understand you are unstoppable, where the role of emotional intelligence is highly crucial. If you know this, the people naturally react, shout. If you know how to control your emotions, you will respond. You will be part of the solution. Where this demands you should know who you are, self-awareness, and you should know how to regulate yourself given crisis situation. You should have the capability to understand the feelings of others, and if there is any situation, you personally motivate yourself, motivate others also, and also mingle with others in spite of this situation. Fusion social skills. This is, emotional intelligence. If you talk to me, that this is, of course, one diagram. Let me take you to another level. It's not only that. So the ability model, what I spoke, that we are talking about, PAGA URP hai. I gave you the formula. The ability to perceive or persist, the ability to assist, the ability to generate, the ability to, that ultimately, that access. Here you talk about access, here you talked about assist, and the ability to understand, the ability to reflect and regulate, and the ability to promote. We are talking about all these terms. Just have an idea. This is another formula. So that promotes emotional and intellectual growth. You should know how to perceive the emotion. That ultimately assists you. Then you generate a new kind of emotion. That ultimately, that you access, then assist you, and ultimately you talk about, you understand the emotions of others because you are composed, and you reflect, and ultimately regulate their emotions. Then finally that promotes, that emotional intellectual growth we are talking about. This is the ability model recommended by John Mayer and Peter Salovey. We're talking about, of course, that the people enriched, the understanding of emotional intelligence we are talking about. And also the very Daniel Goleman, even, that 2002, that, and he spoke, that another version, of course, that you might be aware, the book written, very famous, the book written by him, The Emotional Intelligence. It refers to the ability to understand one's own emotions and those of others, to regulate and manage them, and to utilize as execute. It should not stop the task. You have to understand the challenges in front of you, task in front of you. It's not getting, disturbed by all this, that blah, blah. Go beyond that. Try to work beyond that. Ignore this, because your focus should be on executing things that we are talking about. So the ability to understand one's own emotions and those of others, to regulate and manage them, and to utilize them to execute the task. You understand? This is fantastic definition by Daniel Goleman. We are talking about, of course, what is emotional intelligence, and also two formulae. Of course, that the what we spoke, it is in, the diagram model. Self-awareness, self-management. We are talking about, that the emotion, empathy, SS Smith formula. It is presented, well, you just watch later because you know the story, of course. I think it is right time, let me take you. In the, it is the basis of, social skills of administrators. How you get along with others, in spite of the obstacles, in spite of the disagreements. That contribute to the organizational effectiveness. Not be completely marred by conflict of interest or conflicts. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about this. And also these set of, the skills are, that very imperative to deal with the challenges of administration. We are talking about, ladies and gentlemen, SS Smith or PAGA URP. What we are talking about, such as political, as part of, that administration, you're likely to have, the political interference. One MP will be talking you in a singular manner. We told you, na, come on, do that. Hey, collector. You may be threatened, that you should not lose your, temperament. Yes, sir. Because you don't that fight like the street fighter that enter into Goda. It's not like that. You should not lose your temperament. The political interference will be there, but you should know that okay, sir, give me some time, let me talk to my superior, I will respond, sir, without yielding. How many movies you would have watched, huh? Right? The communication with people, and and the conflict management we are talking about. So the challenges of administration, how to communicate with the people, especially that they talk with you, that sometimes your political leaders speaking in such a way affecting your modesty, decorum, and it's not losing the sight of very purpose there. And also how to handle the conflicts there. It will take time to resolve, so that demands your patience. Not only that, we are talking about that what are the benefits out of this emotional intelligence. It's almost like that the balancing your heart and brain, right? It is that way. We're talking about, you should know, that it's not, we are not asking you to give up your heart, because, that demands your compassion, the passion towards people, understand the empathy, sympathy involved in a particular occasion when you are in your capacity to try to discharge your duties there. You're not a machine. robot. You need, but you should know how to apply your brain also parallelly, because the bureaucracy based on rules and regulation, rationalization, the logical connectivity, presence of mind. Ladies and gentlemen, so it helps in maintaining the objectivity. What is the point? If you know, if you have got emotional intelligence, you will maintain objectivity. Otherwise, you will become subjective. You will get influence, and you will be participating in the crowd, and infighting happens. That's very bad. That makes the situation ugly while discharging your duties, dispensing work, and also it leads to efficient and desired outcomes we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, desired outcome we are talking about, and also it increases the trust among the very colleagues we are talking about. The moment you practice, sir, you are very strong, sir, stable, sir. Yes, there are people, they know very well how to disturb you. By simple word, they will irritate you. By simple irritation, you get ultimately, the emotional yield, the whole system will get spoiled. There are people, the cockroach theory in management, you might be aware. It is not, reaction, it is your response. How to handle the crisis, where you should be, that emotionally strong. We should be practicing emotional intelligence. Then only people will develop trust in you. Sir, you are very strong, sir. We believe you, sir. And he will also, or she will also try to practice the same way, that seeing good, that how stable you are, how composed you are in the crisis situation. Desperate times, desperate measures. You should be composed first. We're talking about. So your members, will develop trust in you, confidence in you among colleagues, and that reduces stress and any extreme, outburst. What happened, right? Once you are emotionally intelligent, you ignore the mistakes of others. You are very determined to discharge the duties on purpose or focused on purpose. Later you can, and people will realize later, will come and that ask you sorry. They'll feel. It is that way, that you need not wait for that. You should be determined to discharge the duties. Helps in understanding the state of mind. You also be only when you are composed, you are capable of regulating the emotions of others. The moment you are the gun, it's gone. It is that way. It's not expecting others to practice emotional intelligence. Charity begins at home. Be the change that you wish to see in the world we are talking about. So that prepares you. Emotional intelligence prepares you to deal with unexpected circumstances. It is not expecting the scenario. Only I will perform there. There is a saying, Tamil, Adamattavathavalukku koodam pattala. When you don't want to perform, you will blame the system. It's not blaming the system. Be part of the system. Participate in the system. That right things. That demands your passion. That demands your emotional intelligence. That's what the primary purpose. So prepares you to deal with unexpected circumstances, but the challenges you have to face when you practice the emotional intelligence, right? You never deviate from the focus. What is that? It works in your favor. It's not going to work against you once you practice emotional intelligence. So it could help an officer to be motivated and inspire his subordinates or her subordinates to execute the given task. That's what I said. They develop, the colleagues will get inspired from you. They get inspiration from you because you're very stable, strong. You're not disturbed. That kind of leadership we are talking about. That the backbone-less leadership nahi hai. We are talking about. So in decision making, the emotional intelligence helps civil servant in restricting the overflowing of emotions and keeping their temperament under control. We are talking about, that control your emotions, stability. It is that way. It happens naturally, but you should know how to train. It takes sometimes, you yield to the emotion, but later you control. It happens in any unwarranted influences, so that you preserve your identity, you preserve your character. That way, ladies and gentlemen. So moreover, emotional intelligence helps the civil servant to have an empathic attitude. When you say emotional intelligence, that we are not expecting you to be without emotions, but you should know what kind of emotions in what kind of occasions. That is what the priority. It is not simply yielding to the emotions and forgetting your personality, identity, or purpose. I'm not talking about that. That happens sometimes in a family environment, official environment. You would have witnessed. People ultimately forget the core issue. They'll be focusing on peripherals and fighting over it. It's a sheer waste of time. Well, it's happening everywhere. So empathetic attitude and towards the common people, and especially the poor and vulnerable, we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. And you have to understand the very purpose, that you are on. Say, for example, it's not only that emotional intelligence. Let's talk about some examples here. I've taken some template, and you got fantastic answers you are going to form at the end of all my sessions. with all my notes. Don't worry about it. Somewhere I have to discuss with notes. Some that ordinary notes, but what I'm supplying here parallelly, you have to take down. That's more than this. Ladies and gentlemen, so if you had a fight at home just before, that's what that the people used to criticize. Maybe that you scored less marks, na? Maybe that evaluator that fought on that day with his wife. After that, he came for your evaluation. Your paper was first, na? You got affected. People say the school days we used to. Students used to talk that way. Maybe a particular official, fought with his wife, came to office directly. Ultimately, that his mindset. So emotional intelligence. It is, that's what I'm saying. When you go home, take your heart. When you come to office, bring your brain. Where, what, when, you have to do it that way. So if you had fight at home just before coming to office, then there is some strong possibility of spillover effect. And the bad mood, there should not be a spillover effect. You have to. And it's better to go for 10 minutes meditation in the office itself, breathe control, everything. And after that, you sit in office. Other, if you are very strong, emotionally intelligent person, you will solve the issue at the home. The issue never comes. Even if issue comes, you know how to solve it. You won't get disturbed. At workplace, in the form of shouting, then ultimately what happens? This guy, that is what I'm saying. We are not, that mobile dustbins. That's what I used to mention. What happened when you come in the roadside, when you drive car, another guy with car, that someone, one two-wheeler wala scolded you. You fool. I'm asking, for some reason, he violated the traffic rule, but you were standing, but because of the thing, you did not give the way because you were waiting for signal. That guy want to go by violating traffic rules. He scolded you. You fool. Said fool. It's a reaction. It is not endorsement or entitlement. The very award given to you that immediately you don't accept and keep it that in your home that yeah, I am fool like this. What is this? As Buddha said, you don't accept the present. He gave you present, you don't accept. If you don't accept, the present will be with that guy who tried to give you, because you don't accept the gift. What happened, right? That guy, that scolded you, fool, you got disturbed by that. Ultimately, what happened? It influences your driving skill. Ultimately, your rash driving, everything, and other people start scolding. With that irritated mind, you come to office, you start shouting because someone thrown dust, garbage in your dustbin because you became dustbin. You accepted that that garbage. Now you want to that throw somewhere the very garbage. You expect others to be dustbin. The chain reaction. I am asking you, who asked you to be dustbin? Like Buddha way, you shouldn't have accepted the garbage. You are not a dustbin to accept everybody's, the garbages. So that's why, that you are not mobile dustbins. Ladies and gentlemen, for your kind information, that it is don't accept somebody else's garbages. You are not party. That's not your cup of coffee. Once you are very emotional, intelligent, determined, nothing will affect you. Nothing will stop you. That's what I'm saying. So the bad mood at workplace in the form of shouting at the colleagues, and ultimately what happened that that you yielded, you started pouring your emotions everywhere. People started shouting, that guy, a pagal ho gaya, a crazy guy. The people will say, the being rude, excessively defensive. It is that way. But if you practice emotional intelligence, then you will calm yourself down, managing your extreme emotions, and that will assist you in better discharging your duties to the best of your capability. You should know how to handle your emotions. Anything happens, that something unexpected at your home also, you should know how to handle it. So having fixed that, you come to office. That's a practice. Every day is not same day. You be ready for, open for any challenges in the world. Like practice this emotional intelligence. So this way, you molded your emotions to work for you. It's not going to work against you. Because you are very strong, very bold, very determined to practice emotional intelligence, nothing will stop you. You become unstoppable. You become unstoppable. Rather than letting, to create a hindrance, obstacle in you. Ladies and gentlemen, that this is fantastic example. Of course, the same way we are talking about another example. Suppose you are supervising very important project, in the public domain. Over the days, I'll be little bit, that increasing the complexity. This is all the beginning sessions. Hope you understand. I go, the very simple way of explaining. Over the days, there'll be more stuff you understand. So suppose you are supervising very important project in the public domain, with strict deadline. As the deadline approaches, what happened, right? I'm asking, it is not worried about deadline. Where is your plan? Every, the project has got its own deadline. So that's what, that you are, sometimes, the people get, that angry, that, thinking about deadline, everything. So what? forward. As the deadline approaches, because you didn't plan. If we fail to plan, we plan for our failure. Every project has got its own process that demands your envisagement, contemplation, planning. Every product is created twice, in planning and in execution. So where is your plan? That talks about. So if you have low emotional intelligence, you will get easily agitated, anxious, frustrated, discouraged. That's what will happen. But if you've got clear-cut plan, this is what deadline, and that you ultimately compartmentalize the very job division of labor and go for delegation. So you have the buffering period also. Then where is the question of the tension then? You got cushion also, buffer time period also. If at all any deviation, you correct. And should not hesitate to involve yourself and monitor everyday basis. If 100% task divided into 100 days, are you meeting that 1% every day? That way you have to check it account. Then where is the question of all those that frustration, discouragement, pessimism? This will create further obstacles. You are supervising. Got the idea? Na? So very important project. So, but if you have high emotional intelligence, then you will excel. You motivate your team members. Having delegated, having identified right person for the right the task, having delegated, having given sufficient time, having supplied resources, funding, infrastructure, whatever it may be, and also monitoring properly and motivating them then and there, the team members. And if at all they've got problem, you help them to rescue. You rescue them. You fix them, and you will calmly think of other innovative ways to hasten the work through positive outlook and happy discipline. You got time because you delegated, because you got a team, because you got a watchdog, you got a cushioning time period. Where is the question of tension? So emotional intelligence helps in curbing the randomness and the extremity of emotions. You can handle the random or the extreme emotions. You understand? It helps you. So this further leads to positive perspective and stable performance. It talks about the importance of having emotional intelligence in your day-to-day life, even in official environment, wherever you go. That enriches your contribution, and also that works towards emotional and intellectual growth. Ladies and gentlemen, hope you understood about emotional intelligence. Let me take you to another case study. Of course, that is what we are providing ethical solution. Another case study, of course, we are talking about sexual harassment in workplaces. You have to understand the 2013 Act, which talks about sexual harassment, that of women at workplace Act, the 2013, and where that the sexual harassment. Let me read. I don't know how it is visible. The small size. That it's referred to whether directly or implications. What is that? The physical contact and sexual advances and demand for sexual favors. I'm reading from PPT. And sexually, the colored remarks and some sort, showing pornography or any other, that unwelcome physical, verbal or non-verbal conduct of, sexual nature. This and all, ultimately that will be, the action will be taken. This is as per, sexual harassment of women at workplace, the Act 2013 we are talking about. Now let us get into the case study. What is that? An apparel manufacturing company. Garments, of course, that having large number of women employees was losing, that sales due to various factors. That ultimately sales gone down. The company, what happened? Ultimately hired a reputed marketing executive, maybe expert, who increased the volume of sales. Fantastic. Took the company to the next level within the short span of time with his expertise. Super cool. But some unconfirmed reports came up regarding his indulgence in sexual harassment workplace we are talking about. Of course, there comes the question whether this guy is advancing, whether he did everything with the support of another party involved there, or is it by mutual consent. You have to check there. And but no information available like that. Here this guy indulged in sexual harassment, maybe that persuaded it is that way. It's it's the incompatibility. Nah? So this guy happened to be boss, like the head of the team. Ultimately the opportunity he gets. So after some time, a women employee lodged the formal complaint to the manager. Yes, against this marketing executive about sexually harassing her. That the report came in. So faced with companies, indifference in not taking cognizance of the, her grievance, he lodged FIR with the police. First information. What happened? The management is afraid of losing its sales because this guy is responsible for taking the company to the next level. So they ultimately started, that evaluating. Who that you wanted marketing executive who took the company sales to the next level, or this mere kaga on a mission. That's what management opinion about ordinary employee. They ignored. They did not take into cognizance, the aware of, ultimately, she, no other go. She ultimately lodged the FIR with the police, that she was forced to go there. So realizing the sensitivity and gravity of the situation, the company called women. Once, that the FIR, the police station gone, now it has become public affair. So the company called the women and employee to negotiate. Ultimately what will happen? I'll give you a suitcase, I'll give you compensation, that you ensure that the company's name is not out. That's what the management. So is that, she was offered a hefty sum of money to withdraw the complaint and FIR, and also, that given writing that the marketing executive is not, parallelly asking her to write, given writing that, that no way he's. So identify, that this particular case study is all about, sexual harassment in workplace by, the so-called marketing executive, company protecting the marketing executive, because a company's eye on profit, not on employees, that the safety environment, or dignity or modesty of the women, or practicing gender justice. It's all these things we're talking about. So identify the ethical issues involved in this case and what options are available to the women employee. We're talking about this particular conditionality. Of course, ethics in almost like ethics in public administration, but it is private, that apparel company, that we have got corporate, that MNCs, that you have to apply same principle, except, that instead of law, it becomes rules and regulation. Here also you talk about, and also, that, so you have to understand various ethical issues involved and parties involved. What that marketing executive guy done is wrong. What the management supporting marketing executive is also unethical. So, that from, that on the basis of the case study information available, we come to know what the women escalated the issue to the management level, but, but the management ignored, did not take cognizance of the crime. He was forced to approach. Now the management coming down, it's again, management trying to bribe her. That's another unethicality. One mistakes getting multiplied, one unethicality getting multiplied into so many. But ultimately, who is in the receiving end? The very women. So, that the parties involved, of course, management, marketing executive, this, the women employee, you might be aware. The ethical issues, of course, here unethical issues. What lady did, of course, ethical measure, but how it is responded, we are talking about. Of course, very approaches, what is fairness, the rights or fairness, what is the virtue, it is affecting, that ultimately that goes against the lack of integrity on the part of marketing executive, lack of integrity on the part of management too, lack of responsibility, lack of accountability, lack of transparency. It is illegal to protect, the marketing executive against, the women. And no compassion towards affected women when she is coming forward. And if it is taking into account, this is tip of an iceberg. So many things would have happened. Maybe now you come to know today. What about other things? Other people, women may not come forward to reveal the aggrieved people. Taking into account, this is tip of an iceberg. Ethical solution should be worked out. But what's happening? No. But actually, the question is centered around, though we are talking in general, question is centered around identify the ethical issues involved in this case. What options are available to women? It should be women-centric. What are all the options, for the women? We have to talk in that tone. Ladies and gentlemen, that the answer should be addressed in such a way. Not from management angle, not from, the police station angle, not from, the marketing executive angle. So from women perspective, because she is the aggrieved person, affected person, victimized personality, of course. So what are all the legal information? Of course, the legal data of the fact, sexual harassment of women at workplace, we spoke just now. So the legal information, facts, and answering the question. Of course, we are going to provide ethical solution, and wherever possible, courts or thinkers, and bring leaders or reformers, wherever possible, to corroborate your ethical stand. Of course, that should be the body I'm talking about. So what are all the options available to the women employee we are talking about here? Continue with our case by taking a firm stand against the company. So when the company, that, you reject that, bribery mechanism of the company, ultimately you go with, police station, ultimately media people will come and support the free legal, the services available, taking the issue to the court level, of course. So, that you are not tired, that until you get the justice. So that, other employees, other marketing executives who are maybe part of the management, afraid of touching the girl, afraid of indulging in sexual harassment in the workplace. You take responsibility. You feel morally responsible on the part of, the fellow women colleagues. That's not free from, that demands courage. That's not free from, that your sacrifice. Of course, that you are vulnerable. No doubt at all. Continue with that case. This is the stand you can take. What is that? If you do that, this would give a fair chance to her to prove her viewpoint in a court of law and will give her mental peace. Of course, something that a great cause for which you stood for. So once you bold, once you are courageous, you go forward. Ultimately, other people, other aggrieved women also may come and join you after that to strengthen your hand. That may happen because of this stand. And also, however, she will have to face mental agony. No doubt at all. That the stress, the threat perception, the safety and security. Because women, maybe your family members, maybe it is that way. And also societal pressure. That see, that when you speak against, that is what that the Malala Yousafzai, the Nobel Prize winner, you might be aware, the Pakistani girl, what that how she was attacked by terrorists. Ultimately, the Swat Valley, she became UN ambassador. You might be aware. When the world is silent, even a single voice will be heard louder. Let me repeat, when the world is silent, even a single voice will be heard loud. That's Malala Yousafzai, crusader of women education. Might be aware. Because that way, that you become crusade. You become a role model. That way. But it's not free from challenges. It's not free from sacrifice. That we are talking about. So this is fantastic stand, and we have to explore other options also, the case, and maybe even prove detrimental for it may stop your career also, but for a time later that everything will fall in your place. At least that you can. The ship is always the ship is always safe on a shore, but ship is meant for sailing. It is not expecting the world to be favorable to you. Sometimes it is unfair. Because you are fair, don't expect the world to be fair at you. It may not be. But in spite of that, never compromise your, with the ethical standards, the value system. Of course, there may be some deviation. Correct yourself. Well-trained mind, never, that ultimate. Never indulgent. The recovery in a short span of time. We're talking about that way. Of course, it's not free from challenges, but that you don't worry. That this is what you are meant for. Probably you came to this world for that particular purpose. You understand your purpose, identify your purpose. And the second opportunity, maybe accept the negotiation offer by the company and withdraw. This is unethical. What you did, first thing, ethical. This is unethical because that the moment you accept negotiation offer, of course you will be misused forever. You highlighted the social pressure. You may be labeled like commercial sex worker, the phraseology like that, that you may be. People will easily, that advance their sexual, motivation because, already it came to the public. Negotiating offer, for the sake of money, you compromise. And what else you will not compromise in future? That bad. It is unethicality. And if you withdraw the case, this may be beneficial for your career, advancement. But it will save from rigorous investigation process. It may be benefiting you, but unethical. It is adharma. Of course, we talk about it. So, however, this would create, this is what happening in some of the companies. That a lot of women, ultimately compromising the value system for the sake of family, for the sake of career growth, life earning mechanism. Once you reveal public, that what will be societal reaction? The family may be throwing that girl out of the family. That afraid of that, that they sometimes, silence their voices. Sometimes people resign without even reporting by citing other reasons. All these things are happening. So, however, this would create dissonance and affect in the long run. What will happen? It will affect your mental peace and her conscience. Of course, we are talking about will not allow her to accept the monetary gains over self-respect. But also, that she would never be able to stand her for self, that herself for the future. You become, that you are not no more role model. Ultimately, you are corrected now. You compromise. So this is unethical to the core we are talking about. Second thing, the first one is fantastic ethical. Of course, they resign from the company and focus on, that other career opportunity. It is escapism. What is the guarantee that, other company people also may not be indulging the same? There is a saying, Tamil, that odinan, வாழ்க்கையின் ஓரத்துக்கே ஓடினான். It is escapism. How long you will run? Come on, turn around, face the challenge. That becomes history. Maybe it's not free from, that ultimately the very sacrifice, the sufferings. So this will later avoid the situation and will be beneficial for her career prospects. But it's a temporary gain, but it's not permanent solution. However, scars of sexual harassment will remain. and because of the thing you came out of the company, what is the guarantee that marketing executive will not be trying other girls also? It is not the solution. It is selfish motive. You got to escape from the scene. So it will remain throughout the life, and she will regret that she herself responsible for the denial of justice. It is obstruction of justice. You got the opportunity, you did not escalate that issue to the next level. Maybe that you became obstacle. So option one, what I spoke, that ultimately, right, that it is that way. Let me go back. What is the option one? You have seen, continue with that case by taking firm stand against the company management. This is ethical decision. We appreciate that. That's the way of handling the situation. Crisis management. Women employee can play a leadership role. That is German. We're talking about that her actions will give voice to the genuine concern, because you become representative of those oppressed and suppressed voices hitherto. You become role model. You become voice of the voiceless. Repeat, voice of the voiceless, as Malala Yousafzai. You become voice of the voiceless. In her moral responsibility, to come forward and show exemplary, the behavior, that you will be appreciated. You took responsibility for the occasion. It's not escapism. This will not only bring, self-satisfaction to her, but also increase her confidence and inner strength. That comes the courage. That's because of your, the very ethical principles, the standards, the principles you stood for. You are socialized in such a way. You internalize the value system in such a way. You are molded to the personality, the culture in such a way. You took it in the right direction. That's why you are the strong personality. You have proven yourself. Also, there is a major fault of the company management in giving priority to the profit motives. That's unethical. That's wrong. They should be punished. Polluters must be brought to the book, right? The violators of the law should be brought to the book. We are talking, there is social sanction mechanism. You got that, and ultimately it becomes a lesson for other corporate MNCs. Others are afraid of that gives deterrence in the social world. Others are afraid of seeing the case, seeing the news. Otherwise, afraid of that trying the same methods, whether it is management or even the employees. Otherwise, management will be hesitating to protect those errant employees, the criminals we are talking about. So, that how do you treat your women? That's what, that the nation's prestige is completely depending on how do you treat your women. You're talking about it. It's that way. So also there is a major fault of the company management in giving priority to the profit motives by saving the marketing executive and not forming internal complaints committee. You should have separate mechanism, a disciplinary proceeding committee, and the understanding safety valve mechanism. There should be separate the ethical committee on the part of the very company itself, so that women will come forward and address their grievances, so that it will be dealt, so that that won't go beyond that. Immediate action can be taken so that the people will be removed as mandated by the Sexual Harassment of the work, the Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition, Redressal Act 2013. You justify that way. Illegal. The people responsible should be brought to the book. We're talking about that's what that you want to earn profit. This is almost like one of the 7 sins according to Mahatma Gandhi, a commerce without morality. Commerce, you do commerce, the business without morality, without moral principle. That's what we are talking about. The stories of extravagant Vijay Mallya, Nirav Modi, where they are now. Chore. During cricket beat, what happened? But it is not only them, and there are so many people like that. What I'm talking about, without the support of the bank officials or politicians, how they would have got escapes. There are so many questions about that. So so it is right time to recall a business without morality, one of the 7 sins according to Mahatma Gandhi, deadly sins we are talking about, deadly evils. So that's this is not only individuals' fault, but an organizations that which lack values such as respect for the dignity of the women. That your tolerance towards those marketing executives says what the standard that is practiced by the company. What compromise over the value system or dignity of the women or gender justice. It is that way, right? The work culture ethics otherwise and gender equality. We are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. I think this is the effective solution. You might be aware. Ladies and gentlemen, you got into account that, and also it is the right time that we spoke about the various resources already, that lexicon, Subbarao and Ramesh Arora, and also second ERC report, and I'll be that discussing more the based on that also. Ladies and gentlemen, this is right time. That of course, what is that? Please use my referral code success to avail maximum 10% discount. I think that I appreciate your participation. Hope you would have benefited out of my session. That especially this video. Even the please the people who did not that attend my the previous video, the morning video, you please go back. It's already available. Ethics and integrity introduction. But it's not only that. In the name of it's not only introduction. Today we discussed the concepts like the socialization and various agents of socialization in effectively molding the personality of an individual. That's part of the syllabus. And also the role of the contributors, the greatest leaders, the thinkers, philosophers, and the greatest administrators, of course, where we discuss Socrates, the Western moral thinkers, that part of SPA mechanism, where the very SPA mechanism what we spoke. But not necessary, that we spoke, that we are ending. It is that way. Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm talking about. So the Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, of course, apart from them, that the Epicureans, Stoicism, put together Western moral thinkers, we spoke. According to Socrates, knowledge is virtue. Unexamined, that life is unworthy of living. That's fantastic. That knowledge is virtue. You might be aware. It is that way. So what, this Plato and Aristotle, they are going to speak in future sessions. You will come to know how they are differing from, the very Socrates, point of view. And also we took you to the concept of, emotional intelligence, where we said, how to handle your emotions and emotions of others. So that promotes, emotional and intellectual growth we are talking about. That improves, that maximization of productivity and various benefits we enlisted the moment you practice, emotional intelligence. And also we roped in ultimately Daniel Coleman, John Mayer, Peter Salovey, the ability model and the domain model. We SS Miss Paga URP. I gave you the codes also. And when we spoke about ethics in personal relations, the basic human values expected on the part of every individual, we spoke about the TRLPJ, the code I gave you, the truth, that responsibility, the love and care, and peace and justice. Finally, we spoke everything. And not only that, we took you to the questions of 2019 to see how the ethical solutions can be given on theoretical portions and case studies portion, where we spoke about that not only emotional intelligence based question, and also we took you to the the quotes given by Socrates and the quotes given by Mahatma Gandhi ji and Dr. Kalam. And we took you there, especially the questions we're asking, what's your opinion, what's your feeling based on that, that the quotes. Sixth question, ABC, we discussed today in 2 videos already you can watch. Ladies and gentlemen, not only that, the case studies we took you, that as a head of rescue team, the ethics in public administration and emotional intelligence. Here also we spoke, sexual harassment in workplace, how. So it talks about, that ethical issues involved and stakeholders you have to understand and general information about the facts. You should know the domain so that, you speak your flavor. Ethical solution should have the flavor of those values, whether it is ethics in personal relation, ethics in social relation, we are yet to deal, ethics in public administration, yet to deal, ethics in, that environmental ethics, otherwise ethics in international relations. We are talking about all. And also emotional intelligence, if any, involved. And also you try to get the help of the contributions from the great leaders, the thinkers, the philosophers and the administrators to support your viewpoints. So that today the trend is different. It's not simply based on the previous year questions. Of course, that the definition of the terms or concepts, that you move to the next level, because it is expecting you to that introspect the merits and demerits involved in the particular case when you face ethical dilemma or conflict of interest. Finally, that what steps you're likely to take, that to make it, ethical decision, asking you to evaluate. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a different trend, the increasing complexity we are talking about. And also, given the world we are living in, public-private partnership, a lot of questions from corporate-centric world. That's what we have seen now. Sexual harassment in, the apparel company, the garment company. I want you to think this way. 120 marks meant for your theories and concepts, 130 marks meant for your, that ultimately case studies. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to understand it's quite fantastic. Actually, that it's a fun-based subject. It's highly motivating also. I told you in the beginning, it is almost like anticipatory socialization. Before you become officer, the UPSC question, it's otherwise called, the ethics paper is otherwise called written interview. That expects you to be as a home secretary, as a district collector, as a commissioner of, that one corporation, as SP of a particular district. What's your solution? That's fantastic. You're putting yourself in somebody else's shoe. It is before you reach that particular position, you train yourself, you socialize yourself with an expectation to reach there. You understand the practicalities, because ethics is more than law. When you got limitations because of the law, you need another tool that's meant for that the traditional, that you move, that you move in the evolution of the society from hunting food gathering society to traditional agrarian society. Then you talk about industrial society. In industrial society, you are governed by science, law, logical connectivity. But whereas the post-industrial society, knowledge-based society, that demands you don't need monitoring mechanism, because you've reached that maturity level. You yourself strictly adhere to the duty. No one instructing you, no one is monitoring you. That is what knowledge based society, post industrial society. In Tamil it's called arivanda samudayam. You don't need somebody else driving monitoring mechanism. So that your personal ethics, your mindset ultimately guiding you. You're not waiting for a legal mechanism to drive you. So that is what ethics, that rescuing you whenever you face ethical dilemmas or contradictions or conflict given the situations. Ultimately, ethics guides you. What is ethics after all? It is the standards, the principles to guide you, especially to resort to right things in that particular occasion, and based on the sources we talk about. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. So ethics is more than law. It also talks about flexibility and practicality. It's not based on emotional high ground. Let me repeat once again. It's not based on very ideal ground. It should be practical, pragmatic. But that pragmatism or flexibility should not that silence your inner voice. Parallelly, you have to understand. So different set of value system in different spheres you understand. Accordingly, you face the questions or case studies. You practice in such a way. Ladies and gentlemen, hope you understood, benefited out of my presence today through my sessions. Ladies and gentlemen, I think, that I made your time worthwhile. I added value in your understanding, I believe. And that I also expect your feedbacks based on that. You please, put, I'm ready to change, because change is permanent. At the end of the day, the purpose of communication should benefit you. I'm ready to change my modality, whatever may be, to your end, because you are the king, you are the customer, you are the king. So you please type all your feedbacks. I'm ready to add value to your understanding. Please refer all those resources to move to the next level. Ladies and gentlemen, that's fantastic, wonderful, interaction today. Of course, please use my referral code, say success, to avail maximum 10% discount. Please go for, plus program and iconic program. You got, immense benefit out of it. Ladies and gentlemen, fantastic, that appreciating you once again for the participation. Thank you so much. This is Success Sampath signing off from you. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. We will meet tomorrow, same 11 o'clock and 6 o'clock with other topics, part of ethics and integrity. Hope, that with the blessings, that of Almighty God, I can add value more in your delivery mechanisms. That let us be part of the solution collectively. Thank you, gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Good night. Please, thank you.